Testing, testing.
I can hear you.
I can hear. Dustin, are we waiting for Damon? Oh, there's Damon.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Friday, June 21st, 2024 State Building Code Council meeting. Can we do council member introductions?
Thumbs up if you can hear us here in the room. Okay, we gotta, for some reason, we're not hearing everybody else, so give us one moment.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
Go ahead and just unmute and introduce yourself if you would.
On the Zoom.
Jay, you're at the top of my screen.
Mike, we can run an audio test in here. The speakers just not.
Yeah, go.
You can hear.
Is everybody hearing me okay?
That's great.
I hear you, Damon.
Should be good, so yeah, do the test.
I think they just can't hear us for some reason.
I hear you.
Is the speaker supposed to be something different than your?
Now we can hear.
Okay, doing a quick mic check. Can I hear some comments from the people online?
Hello?
Can you hear us now?
Audio is working good. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. Could we go ahead and have staff call roll, please?
Shell Anderson,
I'm here.
Jay Arnold,
Here.
Todd Byerther,
Here.
Justin Burgo, Damon Doyle,
Here?
Tom Handy,
Here.
Angela Haupt,
Here.
Roger Haringa,
Here.
Matthew Hepner, Craig Holt,
Here.
Ty was not going to be here, Ben O'Mara,
Here.
Pete Reekie,
Here.
Katie Sheehan,
Here.
Dan Young.
Here.
And our ex officio, Lauren is not going to be able to make it. Senator John Lovick,
I'm here.
Representative Alex Ramel,
I'm here, good morning.
Representative Susan Schmidt, Senator Linda Wilson, and our Assistant Attorney General Derek Meyerbachtal.
Morning, everyone. I'm here.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public that would like to introduce themselves?
Damon, before we go to the public, I'd like to introduce our newest council member, Dan Young, who is going to be occupying the fire services seat for the council. And so he's moving up from our building code tag into the council seat. And anyway, he's online today. We heard him in roll call. Dan, if you want to say a few words, you're more than welcome.
Good morning. As you said, I'm Dan Young, I'm the Kittitas County Fire Marshal. I was in Clark County for a few years and been in this position actually 1 year as of today. I just hit my 1 year anniversary at Kittitas. So anyway, thank you for having me and I hope I can help.
Wonderful. Welcome aboard, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, now we'll go ahead and move on to other attendees. Anybody here to introduce themselves? I see no hands on that side. So we'll carry on with the agenda. Can I get a motion to review and approve the agenda, please?
Motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Review and approve the minutes from May 24th. Can I get a motion? Jill?
You had a question about that,
Mhm.
about the minutes. So in the minutes, item 4, there was a question about the CR 103 being different than what was in the published code. And I wanted to know from staff if that was part of the clerical updates that happened last month. Updating the baseline systems per what the council approved.
That is just an error in the online version. The WAC is the correct version. We're still integrating changes for a second printing or third printing, and that hasn't been posted yet.
Okay, so the code as published is correct. It's just the WAC, the online version is incorrect.
The version on the SBCC site is incorrect.
The insert pages.
The insert pages that aren't really insert pages because they're the whole.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Still looking for a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
So moved.
Approved or second, either way.
Any further discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. If we could go back to the agenda, please. On the screen. Okay. Is there any public comment for items that are not on the agenda? Any public comment? I see no hands up at this time. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item 5, 2024 code adoption schedule changes. Dustin.
Alrighty, so as part of this agenda item, I wanted to give a update on the work being done by all 3 of the tags actively working right now. The mechanical code is not quite done with their significant changes in existing amendments report. We anticipate that being done real early in July. With the IFC and IBC tags, they are also not completed with those reports as well. They are should complete a preliminary review of all the chapters here in the next week. IFC has already completed their preliminary review and staff is making a master compiled report. And with the IBC, we pretty much have the international existing building code remaining on that to do work on the preliminary review. And we're anticipating getting that done here in early July. And we're looking to also have some correlation meetings between a couple of the tags to work on flagged items that have been identified during the work that we've done so far, so that we can get a comprehensive report that's also correlated across the codes. And so we're looking to have that done early July, more towards the mid-July. And it is my hope to move the schedule a little bit there and schedule a special committee meeting for both the MVPE and PFRW committees. And then a week after that meeting, schedule a special council meeting to address the reports and approve them for use by our code users. The schedule change that I have in mind here today looks to open the proposals period. And so I'm bringing up what we have posted online for the proposed schedule change. There's not a whole lot of shifting here other than opening the submittal period for 90 days instead of 60 days, which is our minimum by our bylaws. The 90-day period is intended to get the proposal period open so people can start submitting proposals. The extension to 90 days over 60 days is to allow for proposals to come in and still have a 60-day period with the reports finalized and approved by the council and then folks can submit proposals using those reports as well. And so showing here, the 3 columns off to the right, for the, oh, I'm not showing, I'm sorry. So here I have the, schedule that was published online for this meeting, show some changes. The columns on the right-hand side for the, commercial, blow it up.
Yeah.
For the energy code commercial, hasn't changed. We are still waiting the documents from ICC to come through so that we can begin the work on the commercial energy code. And then the group 2 section will not begin until next year. And so is the hope that we can compress some of the work that we're doing right now so that we don't overlap too much into the group 2 work that we need to do. So we show here on the left, these columns here are pretty much where the changes lie in this schedule as compared to the one that we updated last time. So we're doing a 90-day submission period. We'll close it in August and have a September 20th council meeting. That's what's already on our schedule. It is a day after the closing period of this proposal period based on that. So if we don't think that we should have the council meeting on September 20th, we need to change that now. And the biggest change here for the work down the road is that our review of the proposals coming in for the group 1 codes is going to be a little bit shortened so that we can still meet the CR 102 filing deadline that we've set for ourselves in November so that we can move on with this work and hopefully get back on the track with this code cycle with the delays that we've experienced so far. So that is what I have. Are there questions or comments on this schedule that I have proposed here?
It appears that on the website right now, we still have the 520 version, and how soon?
This document was posted to the meeting site, so I haven't published this one to the website yet. This is just a document that's in our meeting documents.
Gotcha. Roger, go ahead.
Yeah, Dustin, can you clarify for me? So the September 19th one would be when the submissions are closed for, and then what do we need to do with those submissions on September 20th?
We just need to refer them back down to the tags for beginning of review of those proposals. There's not a lot of work that needs to happen in between the 19th and the 20th. During the proposal period, we expect to get proposals coming in, and then we'll compile them into groups for review. And then once we have all those done, hopefully on the September 19th, we're just taking a couple of trickling proposals coming in, and we can just bring that back to the tag, and the tag work kicks off again after that council meeting.
And then the tag work would need to be done early November for the November 22nd council meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we'd be looking to bring a CR 102, so all the proposed language and everything for that work should be coming to that November meeting.
And does this preclude in any way, and I believe I know the answer, but I'll phrase the question this way. I don't believe that this precludes the tags from beginning to work on proposals prior to September 19th, if they come in early.
No, sir. I guess it's been the tradition for the council to refer the proposals down to the tags. And we could potentially take action today to say that proposals coming in can be compiled and work can begin immediately on these. And then at the end of the 90-day submission period, we could revisit that as well.
Okay. I could just see the tags beginning to work on them and not taking official action on those until after they get referred. But just being on the tags, I know there's a lot of initial work trying to understand proposals, how they integrate, how they you know, how they work within the code. So that work can happen. We could certainly wait until after September, after they are officially referred, before we would take the tags would take any official action. So that's my question or comment, just trying to understand the process better.
We can hold off official action until after the close of the submission period and begin work during the 90-day proposal period.
Okay.
Thanks, Roger. Ben?
Yeah, I think Roger covered most of what I was going to ask, but I guess would there also need to be any additional committee review of either the tag recommendations or prior to providing the council review of proposals?
So prior to the November 22nd council meeting, it would be, we would be calling the committee meetings before the council meeting to review the proposal work done by the tags to move on up to the council for review. Before the September 20th meeting, unless there's anything that comes up in that time frame for their work, say an interpretation request or anything else that needs committee action, we can schedule those before the September 20th meeting, but there wouldn't necessarily need to be committee action before putting the proposals down to the tag for their initial reviews.
Okay. Jill, then Angela?
Yeah, to Roger's question, the energy code tag has considered proposals before being referred, just can't vote anything final on them. So that's happened in the past as practice.
Thank you. Angela?
Yes, so we wouldn't expect them to be taking action, say, on the 21st or anything, because there could be multiple proposals on the same topic, section, whatever, and they need to take all of those into account before taking action on any of them. So, I mean, practically, we shouldn't really be seeing any action taken until, at least a little bit past when we refer them correct?
Yeah, I would presume it would happen after the close of the submission period to allow opportunity for all the proposals to get it.
All right. Okay.
Katie?
Yeah, so maybe this is kicking a dead horse. So it wouldn't make sense to do like a tiered, a tiered action where usually we take August off. Is that still happening?
At the moment is yes.
Okay. So, and July would probably be too soon, but to just be able to say the ones that have already come in will accept if they meet all the requirements so that the tags could get started on those. But because we need all of them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I think that if we get proposals that we can deem complete, that the tag can at least begin reviewing them and, forming opinions to discuss after the close of the submission period. So having the complete picture painted of having all proposals that might overlap sections will inform final action, but there's no reason that the proposals can't be distributed out to the tags for digestion before the close of that submission period. And we could have some tag meetings to discuss some of that, but no formal action would be taken until the closing period.
Okay, that sounds great.
Cool. Angela, you had another comment?
Yeah, so all tag meetings are open to the public, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And the public can testify during all of them, even if they're sort of unofficially considering proposals.
Yes, so we make it clear that the public can attend and participate. They don't need any special invitation to those tag meetings. They'll be posted online with documents for folks to use to participate with. And even at our council meetings, the public's welcome and to participate. We usually have a mark on our agendas for public participation in there as a reminder to get that for all of our different activities.
Any further comments? Oh, Katie, go ahead.
One last thing, if we're opening it up a submission period for 90 days for group 1, should we do it for group 2, or are we just gonna make that determination later?
Well, it would be my hope that we keep it for 60 days for the group 2. The main reason we're opening up for 90 days is because the work's not done, but we're trying to compress some of our timeline so that we don't overlap group 2 very much. But if we want to open it for 90 days for group 2, we can. We just might run into issues of compressing the very end of this cycle and not meeting our November deadline to have final adoption so that it can sit through legislative session and then come effective in November 26th. We have a hand up in the attendees.
Yeah, I see that. Andrea, go ahead.
Yeah, hi everyone, Andrea Smith from Building Industry Association of Washington. I was just curious, I think I do recall from the bill that was passed 6291 that there has to be some sort of a referral from the council to the standing committee or technical advisory group. So I would just be interested to see what kind of changes aside from the bylaws that bill will have going into the process. So I just wanted to bring that up so that it's kind of like top of mind as the conversation continues today. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further discussion, I think we can move on to item number 6. That's changes to the budget.
Could we entertain a motion to approve this new schedule as drafted?
Sure. Does somebody want to make that motion?
So moved, Jay Arnold.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ben?
It looks like, sorry, I saw a hand go up in the audience, but it looks like it went down. From Ken Brewer. I had nothing for them. Oh, there it goes again.
Ken, go ahead.
Thanks. You guys are just moving really fast on this. One of the things Andrea brought up, yeah, I definitely want to look at that. But one of the things that helps with the ICC code development process is when submittals are deemed complete and they're posted on a website. And at that point in time, when people are looking at proposing code changes, they'll see if there's already one being proposed for that section. And the reason for that, so you can work with that proponent, or so you don't duplicate efforts. And I'm just wondering, prior to it getting either referred to, if that's what happens, or before the tag works, can any submission that deems complete by staff that no additional information, can that be posted online even though it hasn't been referred yet? So then people can look at it and then say, hey, I have the same idea and I would like to work with that proponent, so we don't have people duplicating efforts and getting too many proposals coming in. Thank you.
I think that's a great idea, Todd.
Yes, that full support of that. That would be my intent, that we get these up and posted as quickly as possible so that even during that 90-day period, we potentially are getting feedback from the tags, helping collaborate. And what I would not like to see is some sort of docketing process where the council is eliminating essentially through that referral process. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, agreed. Dustin, do you see any issue with that?
I don't see an issue. I would, I guess say, don't expect a daily update on those, but maybe a weekly update to a public document that would show the proposals received to date. And, maybe we wouldn't necessarily even preclude the incomplete ones on there, but I think that would need a little bit more discussion as far as posting stuff that's not a complete proposal and having it digested inappropriately.
Okay. Angela?
So technically that's not totally how the ICC process works. The process works on ICC that if the proponent chooses to make their proposal public prior to the publishing of the monologue at ICC, then everyone can see it. But if they don't choose to make it public, then it cannot be seen before the deadline. So I don't know if that makes a difference in what we're doing, but yeah.
Okay, Roger?
The way I see this, and I think that this fits pretty much what everybody has said, potentially except what Angela just brought up, but you know, the tag will need to continue to work on proposals as they come in. That was my initial comment. As far as public access to those, if the tag is going to be working on a certain proposal, that is a public meeting and that information needs to get posted to the public anyway. So I think as staff deems proposals complete, I would suggest that they get posted on the website as, okay, this is complete and it's going to be starting the work on the tag will start their work on this particular proposal. I believe as far as 6192 goes, the tags, as long as the tags do not take any official stance or business or votes on specific items until after the September meeting, when those are all referred to the tags officially, I believe, and I would guess that this would be something that we could confirm, but I believe that we meet the intent of 6192. So again, I'm not a legal person. I've not delved deeply into all of the exact language of 6192, but I believe allowing our tags to begin to work on proposals, they are open to the public. The meetings are open to the public. The information will be out there. But the official action that we are taking would happen after they are referred and you know, after that September meeting. So.
Lisa?
Hi, it's Lisa Rosno with Evergreen Technology Consulting. I'll be on the Commercial Energy Code tag. Just a quick question about submitted code change proposals for the benefit of the public who would like to participate in this. What will be the process of determining completeness and appropriateness? And then if a proposal comes in, you know, it's got some good content in it, but it needs some work. You know, how will they be notified and the time frame that they'll have to update the proposal to meet the minimum requirements? Thank you.
So as far as proposals being deemed complete, there's a form available on the SBCC website for code change proposals. We're asking that those fields be completely filled out. And if one of those fields is not relevant to the code proposal, so say, for example, we get a proposal for the single exits work that we have to do, that particular item is directed by legislation. And so we don't need the cost benefit analysis information on there. And so that's probably one of the biggest items that our proposals come in lacking. And that's going to be probably the key point that we are rejecting proposals, is if that section's not filled out, because those reports have received a lot of scrutiny after the last code cycle. And so the staff, we don't have the bandwidth to actually do that research and collate that information into a report that is as much value as something that would come with cost benefit information from the proponent who may have already done that research and knows how it impacts the cost in the code. So that's my ask of the public, is make sure that the form comes in complete. And if we have questions on that, or we're going to say it's not complete, if it's rejected, there's a 7-day turnaround for that one. If we don't receive a response, then that proposal will be killed. And but that doesn't mean you couldn't submit it again within the period. So it's just if we get it and we review it, 7 days to respond to that review and get us the information we're looking for. And I think that's all I have for you. So Angela, you have a hand up?
Yeah, just for clarification. So if it comes in, say, right at the deadline, like on the 18th, and it's deemed incomplete, do they still have 7 days?
I would say that it wouldn't be fair to close them off from a 7-day turnover from a response at that point. So, as long as they come in at that time, but if we miss that deadline after our, period there, we'll have to reject the proposal.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
I would, I think I might differ with that. If somebody submits a proposal on the last day and they thought they were complete, you know, then they thought they met all the criteria. I would suggest that we still would give them the 7 days. I think it's gonna be a rare instance.
Well, that was what I meant. That was the intent of what I was saying is they get the 7 days after the period. It just may interfere with the, September 20th council meeting.
Gotcha.
So we could push the council meeting, 7 days to be the 27th. I don't know what day that falls on, but I've just, given 7 more days. I guess it's a Friday as well.
Let's just hope it doesn't happen.
Correct.
Okay, Roger?
I just wanted to clarify Justin's answer. He kind of answered the question from the public, but the staff is the actual determinator of whether it is deemed complete or not. Correct, Dustin?
That is correct, but when we bring this to the council, I'd like to also bring a report of proposals that were rejected and the reasons why.
Good, okay.
Okay.
Okay, anything further? Seeing none, let's move on to item 6, changes to the bylaws. Dustin?
Point of order.
Go ahead.
To vote on the motion.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I forgot yeah. Thank you. It's Friday. I die off by Friday. Okay, we have a motion to approve the revised schedule and a second. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Now we'll move on to item 6.
Friday.
Dustin, you want to lead this?
Yeah, I was getting the document opened up here.
Okay.
All right, so first on here on the agenda, what did we have? We had the review the changes needed for the technical advisory groups committees update. That's further down this document, so I'll scroll down to that one first. At the last council meeting, staff was directed to break out the residential and WUI tag into 2 separate tags. And so that necessitates a couple changes here in the technical advisory group section. As far as the committee section, there's no changes needed there to update what it says in our bylaws. The membership will be updated a little bit as well, though, once we go through the next agenda item. So the change proposed for the technical advisory group section is to strike the residential and WUI codes tag as a combined tag, and to add 2 new lines for the residential code tag and the WUI code tag. And as we go through these, I kind of like to do it like we had in the bylaws changes we had at the March meeting, where we kind of went through section by section instead of doing it as a whole.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion then to accept the change from the combined tag to the individual tags.
So moved, Angela.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Craig.
Thank you. I believe this takes a 2/3 vote. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion on this change? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, and then we'll move up to the bylaws changes that are a result of the Bill 6291. We reviewed this, and before we get too far into this part, I want to mention that the bylaws online had not been updated. So as part of my review of 6291 to get these changes right here, the bylaws online weren't changed after the March meeting. So any changes that were reflective as of that meeting are not reflected in this document for the other sections. So there's some technical advisory group sections that are not updated as compared to the changes made at the March meeting. And so we're just looking at this terms of office language here that was expressed in the bill 6291. Chet.
Yeah, I guess I have two questions. One is, it does say the governor shall appoint a qualified. We can't in our bylaws compel the governor to do anything, right? It just seems strange that we would require the governor, who's not a member of this council, to do something within our bylaws. Does that make any sense at all?
I think it does. So this was part of the bill. I just pretty much copy pasted the new sections out of the bill. And I think that would be a good change to this document to remove the last sentence of item number 3 there.
I mean, it's the law. It's just, strange to have the bylaws tell the governor to do something when we have no power over the governor. We are appointed by the governor. The second comment was, we had earlier discussions on trade associations, and I think it's important to have trade associations where they exist, suggest things, but I think we also have to provide for the fact that some don't have trade associations associated with them. And so I recommend we say, instead of the trade associations must provide, we would say any trade association that is making a recommendation must provide, because there are just not trade associations for every member of the council or tag.
I think that might be somewhat implied. Also on that last sentence, rather than deleting it, what if we just change shall to should?
Yeah, or we expect the governor to, or something.
Do you mind if I jump in for a second? Because you got my attention with discussions of language. I always get excited about that. Yeah, these are, all of this was copy and pasted as Dustin indicated from the statute as amended. And there's a whole host of ways to attack this. I would say if you're not interested in striking it, one solution could be you could cite the statutory or the citation, right? Say RCW, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, 1927-070, I think, requires the governor to appoint a qualified replacement. So just say what the law requires rather than imply that the bylaws are required to do it.
And I think that item number 1, which does cite the RCW, covers that, correct?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm with Chell. It could be a little jarring to a reader to suggest that there's a directive here, and just being clear that that directive exists separate from our authority. It comes from the statute. Could be helpful.
Okay. Roger, your hand's up.
Well, the second sentence I actually believe is the same thing. We can't tell trade associations that they must do something.
Right.
In our bylaws. I mean, I think both of those sentences, however we address the governor's sentence, I think that we should also address the trade associations. And then that leads to my second question of, is there anything that we should or could have in our bylaws? What would happen if neither of those do occur? What happens if we can't appoint members? So
then the provisions of item 2 kick in, which says the position goes vacant.
Okay. So I just think that both of those two sentences in number 3 need to be addressed in the same way, because we can't tell trade associations that they have to do something either.
I think what it's doing is it's giving the trade association a guideline that they have 30 days to make a nomination.
And I think that that's just changing the word must. The trade association has 30 days.
Okay.
But then I question what would happen if they don't fulfill that. What are we going to do if the AIA doesn't fill a position on, doesn't tell us?
Then the position becomes vacant.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, just to clarify, this language is copy paste from the legislation, correct?
Correct. I can pull that up here if you like.
I don't know that there's any reason to vary from it, but Todd, go ahead.
I was going to make the pretty much exact same point as Roger. I would strike both of them, quite frankly, because to me it implies in our bylaws that we are taking a position. We could take a position. I personally don't support that, the trade associations, but it's state law, right? So unless we take action to take a position, I think we should strike them. Thank you. And, I'm sorry, strike them, and as Derek recommended, just reference the law. It's state law.
Okay, I think it gives guidance, but nonetheless, okay, Craig?
So I really appreciate Chel's sharp eyes in catching this and the rest of you. In hearing what Derek's saying, I don't know why we would strike it. I don't know why we wouldn't say, as stated in the RCW, reference in one above, the trade associations must, and the same thing with both of these, just once again, refer to the RCW because it is legislation. It is not us telling them to do anything, and it's inserted into our bylaws by the RCW. So just once again, restate, the RCW has made this direction, and I think we cover this rather than striking it, because it is giving direction to the trade association. It is giving information to the public that the governor is going to do this. We have
Nuance between them.
correctly, we're not telling the government they have to do it. We're saying by the bylaws, as stated, this is what will happen, right? I think that's a cleaner way to do this and not delete stuff that is actually informative to everyone else. It is not sitting in this room right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie?
Well, I was going to suggest that maybe number one is actually the overarching message, and then 2, 3, 4 are sort of under that. So I was going to suggest taking off number 1, and then it kind of, it's saying council members' terms of office, everything is under RCW 1927, and then it's implied that this is just sort of outlining that. But if this is the way that we want to keep it, just to keep the edits down, I also I would support the changes that are on the in highlighted here too.
And these are just the sections of that law passed here.
Okay. Yeah, I agree, Katie. It might be redundant to have it in the beginning, but I think that plainly points out that this is the driving force behind this provision in our bylaws.
Right. And so I was just saying, like, council members' terms of office would just be its own sentence without number 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, or sorry, it would just be 1, 2, 3. Then it doesn't. I mean, it's probably semantics. So
yeah, again, it's redundant, but I think it also adds clarity. Shell?
Yeah, I agree with what Craig said. I think as stated in RCW such and such, and then we say what the RCW says. I think that's clear and informative, and says that we're not taking a position on any of this stuff. This is just how we have to operate because the legislature told us to do so.
Yep. Angela?
Okay, so I think to Katie's point, I think she makes sense. I think that number 1 should stay number 1, but 2, 3, and 4 are simply reiterating portions of that and should be ABC as far as like under that, as far as, because I mean, number 3 is just referring to number 1 again. So I mean, but putting them sort of as ABC then makes it, it's showing that they're just part of number 1.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts on that? I
think that really cleans it up and makes it.
I agree.
I think that's a perfect solution.
Cool. Ben?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I was just opening the RCW and I was trying to confirm if all of these points were stated in 1927-070. And I wasn't finding C because that references a separate section. So yeah, I would agree it would make sense, but just to make sure that we're referencing the RCW correctly.
I think we just showed that on the screen a moment ago. It was highlighted in the RCW. There you go.
Let's see, this section affects 19-27070.
If you scroll down to where you have.
Yeah, it's in subsection 7. This is the ethics training requirement, right?
Oh, ethics training. I didn't hear that part. I'm sorry.
There it is, right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
go up to
Thank you.
7.
Yeah. Okay, Pete?
Yeah, I was, if we go back to the original document there, if a position becomes vacant and no one suggests a nomination no later than 30 days after the position is open, or the governor does not have a qualified replacement within 60 days, does that not imply that the vacancy then is unfillable?
No, and I think, and I say that because we just recently went through this with the fire position. So, well,
And it's quite likely to happen with my position too, so.
perhaps,
But I guess when I read that, it says, what happens if nobody does either of these two things? Then,
per the RCW, I don't think we have a course of action, but I think there's motivation to get somebody, to get the position filled, so. We just have to
Right.
hope that the governor does that.
okay, all right.
Okay, Jay?
So just to that point, looking at the current RCW, it says the governor will select appointees within the nominations provided by the trade associations unless no name is put forward by the trade association. I suspect Garrick would weigh in on this with the governor's legal staff, but that reads to me like the governor then is open to appoint somebody that's qualified as a professional. But wide open for choosing who he wants or she wants.
Would assume that as well. Tom?
Yeah, I think, the reason for declaring it vacant is in order to reduce the number of people required for a quorum. But it seems like the obligation to filling that, or the authority to fill those positions, will continue to exist even after those deadlines. I mean, that's the way I would take it. And then we might think about taking the as stated piece back out if we're going to go the ABC route, which I think is a good move too.
Can I jump in for a second, Mr. Chair?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, just to let you know that these are really important questions regarding the new law. And as with all new laws, there's going to potentially or even likely be actual real factual questions that will arise in the future that this council, the governor's office, and the lawyers, of course, will have to work through. Just for everyone's benefit, nothing that we're talking about right now is actually happened, right? This is more kind of a hypothetical conversation, which is really a good one to have. I would note that if these questions do arise in the future, I guess somebody indicated that what would likely happen is the governor's office would have some opinions about what the scope of their authority is. And the SBCC might not be in a position to dictate to the governor what its opinion is legally, but could certainly offer its point of view if open questions arise. And so my note of caution is nothing is specifically on the table right here, and there may be other points of view with regard to what the statute requires that we'd want to consider.
Okay, thank you. Todd?
Yeah, thank you. Again, that was a great setup. I like this direction, Tom. I think your suggestion was really important and that helped address some of my concern. But to Derek's point, what I'm worried about is that we're implying some sort of authority we don't have to define these things. And I'll give an example. In the statute, I believe it says the largest trade associations, and I've always been confused by that. Who is going to define what that means? And it's very obvious in certain positions. It's not obvious at all in others, in particular the one I hold right now. There are probably hundreds of trade associations, and who is going to define it? I assume it's the governor's office or the legislature in future bills, but I don't think we have the authority to make that definition. So I just raised that's really a question. So I want to get people thinking about that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other further comments? Todd, your hand's still up. Can I get a motion to accept the revision as presented?
I would like to make that motion to be accepted as shown on the screen right now.
Thank you, Craig. Is there a second?
Second, Angela.
Thank you, Angela. Tom?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we still need the middle part of that as stated in RCW 1927-070 when it's stated right above it, and this is a subsection now.
I concur. My opinion is it gives us a little bit of clarification. That's all. It's just, it's in there. Any further thoughts? Anything from our attendees? Okay, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to item 7 on the agenda, the tag seats for the 2024 code adoption cycle. First item is to appoint a chair to the IFC tag. Go ahead, Dustin.
Before we get into that, I wanted to circle back to agenda item number 5. It was kind of my intention to get an official motion and approval for the council to open the proposal period. So we've approved the schedule there.
Okay.
I don't think we have officially opened the proposal period, and I just wanted to make sure we cover that one.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to open the proposal period? Chell?
Yeah, what is the correct statement for the motion? Is it just to open the proposal period, or is there more detail I should add?
I would say for 90 days.
Open the proposal period for group 1 for the next 90 days.
Okay, a motion to open the proposal period for group 1 codes.
For 90 days.
For 90 days.
There we go.
Second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Dan, aren't you impressed about how smoothly these meetings run? That's how it goes all the time.
All right, thank you for circling back to that one. Save the Word document there. Update, share. All right.
And before we move on, I see Roger's hand up.
Yeah, I have a question also back there. Part of the schedule that we adopted was to add a meeting in July. That is a special meeting, I know. Are we going to call that meeting and schedule it today, or is that something that we are anticipating waiting until we understand the schedule a little bit better, and then there would be an official calling of a special meeting?
It was my anticipation to call those meetings once we were in a position to for sure have the reports ready for those meetings. So I know that there's some availability issues early in July. So I'll be looking to reach out to everybody to make sure that we can have a quorum for that special meeting as well. So, but we want to make sure that we're going to meet the mark before we schedule those meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Dustin and I had spoken about this. I think we're looking toward the 4th week, be the week of the 22nd. And I would probably not do it on a Friday because of summer and weekends being important, maybe a midweek meeting. So, yeah, we'll just keep the council posted, and perhaps what we can do is select several meeting dates and take a vote on which one fits everybody's schedule the best. Okay, are we all caught up with 5 and 6?
Yes, sir. I'm getting a document opened up here.
Okay.
So this is a big document here, and it's a little bit of a departure from the document that Stoyan had presented. And I'll go kind of off of the agenda where we're looking to appoint some chairs. First here, let me get my agenda up in the background and I'll zoom into the appropriate tag. So we're looking to appoint a chair to the IFC tag with our new council member, Dan Young. Traditionally, they have chaired this tag, and so that is the first order of business is to get a chair in there for the fire tag.
Dan, do you accept the position?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Does somebody want to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion as the alternate chair to have Dan step in as the official chair of the IFC tag.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Dan, you have any comments?
I don't.
Okay.
Actually, I will just say, assuming it passes, Dan, I will get in touch with you about kind of passing off, meetings and where we're at. So
I figured that would happen.
Baton handing off. There we go. Okay. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the motion to accept Dan as our chair of the fire code tag?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
All right, as a furtherance of that appointment there, Dan Young also occupies a fire services representative position within the building code tag. And he will no longer be able to fulfill that position. And so we'll need to coordinate with Lance and try to get some more recruitment for that position as well. In there. So just as a heads up.
Did we make a bylaw change that said there couldn't be duplication? Because I know we've had it in the past.
Well, it's the number of council members on a tag.
Yes. Okay, that's correct. Okay. He's now official, so.
That is red. And we'll come back to him. So the next one here, we've got some additional IBC tag appointments. We only had one application come in for each of these positions that you see highlighted here in yellow. First off, we had Brian Horstman who came in. We reviewed with Todd, and Todd has recommended him for this position as well. And then we also had a Todd Sullivan apply for affordable housing representative. I didn't get a chance to review this applicant with Todd before putting him on here, but we only have one applicant and we have a completely empty space here. And so I would like to recommend Todd for that position as well. And once if we can get this, our quorum number will shift from 7 to, I believe, 9 is what my notes say.
Okay. Brian Horstman, that name sounds familiar. Do you recall who he's with?
I do not, but I do have his stuff here. I'll open it up.
Hi. Damon, if you can hear me, I'm cutting in and out here. I believe it's James Hardy.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Okay. Fantastic. Good. That's a good representative. Okay. Craig?
Same question for Todd Sullivan. Who's he affiliated with? Where does he come from? If we could take a look at that. That would be great.
He's with Sullivan Homes. Give me one moment here.
And if I cut out, I did make a recommendation for Todd Sullivan, but let's review both as a council because that's most important.
Sure. Good moment. Todd, I got JPEG images of the application here. He hails from Hayden City, Washington, and
It's in Idaho, not Washington.
oh, I'm sorry. He has a lot of housing developments happening here in Washington as well. Let me get to his resume and blow that up. It's a little difficult to read. So he's Sullivan Homes, Flagstone Land Development, Sullivan Homes again. He's the current managing partner. They do maintain a address there in Idaho. Apologies on that one. But it looks like they also hail out of Rockaway and Spokane, Washington as well. They have an office there.
If I'm not mistaken, he's doing a lot of missing middle stuff over in Spokane.
I went to his LinkedIn profile and it appears like it says multifamily duplex ADU affordable housing design build.
There we go. Perfect. Craig, did you have something further?
Yeah, just real simple. My high level of trust for Todd gives me confidence that he's looked at it. Todd, is there anything you want to say about him that could explain your recommendation and help us vote for him?
I do appreciate that. Maybe I will be careful because I don't know Todd. We screened this, and what I will say is in this process, Todd is a little different representative than we're probably looking for. I think we're approaching this as we're looking for someone more in the tax credit or other type of space, but we didn't find that person. So I think the council should talk about this one. So let's debate it.
Okay, Katie?
Yeah, that was going to be my point, was kind of turning more to the definition of affordable housing representative. So, right, is it somebody that's doing more tax credit work or housing development, along the more, I guess, multifamily or, so just wondering how we're defining affordable housing representative.
It's an important distinction, right, Katie? Is it capital A or small a, and are we okay with that?
Right.
Let's have the debate.
Todd looks like he's like I think Damon just said the missing middle, which is what is it, the bigger A or little a? I like that.
I'm going to say it's more small a in my
Right.
definition.
Mm-hmm.
I think Councilmember Bayreuther likes him because he has a cool first name. Chell?
Yeah. Is this the tag that we'll be considering the two pieces of legislation that work on missing middle housing types, or it's a question to anybody?
Shell, this is Todd. If you remember, we're trying to think of an ad hoc committee for that pulls in relevant member from the other tags and other stakeholders.
Okay, because it seems like he'd certainly be qualified to work on the kind of the small end of housing, which is what the two pieces of legislation would do. So from that perspective, seems like a fit for at least those ad hoc groups. But I mean, I guess I'm given slight pause by the fact that even staff didn't review the resume, and I think we got to vet people. And I guess the other question is there a time criticality to appointing someone today?
Hey, Shell, I'll weigh in here. No, we put this one on hold, and I'm okay with that also right now.
If
We
it
table
weren't,
this.
if it weren't for our pending special meeting in July, we wouldn't meet again until September. And I think that might interfere with our timeline. And again, he could be there as a placeholder if somebody more qualified comes forward in the interim. Jay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I was gonna make the same argument that you just did. We have an alternate position in this spot also open, and it appears that Todd may have some expertise that he brings to the table in trying to build the middle housing and specializing that in his own practice that may be valuable voicing the tag.
Great. Thank you. Ben?
Yeah, I guess would it make more sense to have him in the number 13 specialty contractor position in that case?
I think we've established that he is a little a affordable housing, so I think it's appropriate. But we've had a lot of discussion. Could we get a motion on the table to either accept or reject?
I move that we take the recommendations as currently there. We still have the other vacancies to fill that can certainly cover this. So I make a motion, we move forward with both Todd and Brian in the positions recommended.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, there's a motion and a second to accept the recommendations as presented. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Jill just
Aye.
raised
Yeah.
his hand.
I called for the vote. Any opposed?
I'll vote in opposition.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay,
This is Katie.
two opposed. Okay, I'll allow any comments if you guys want to follow up on that. The motion has passed. Okay.
I would just say that, you know, if an application comes in for the big A, that we perhaps reconsider that if we get an application in. Thanks.
That would be in order. Jill?
Yeah, I think when the executive committee appointed people, there was a robust discussion of the qualifications and all that, and I think we would need that, or I would have voted yes today.
Okay. Okay, next item on this agenda is appoint the chair and alt chair to the residential tag.
And when we had the combined IRC and WUI tag, Pete Reiki was occupying a alternate position for the chair of that group. And it was kind of floated out there prior to Angela joining up with the council membership that that council chair or council position would occupy the prime chair for that group. And so it's kind of my thought that the chair for the IRC tag would be Angela, and then I don't have a suggestion on the alternate on that one.
Okay. Angela, is that a position you're willing to accept?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Let's start with the chair position. Can I get a motion to nominate a chair position?
So moved. Angela?
Okay, second, is there a second?
Second, Craig, this is Craig.
Okay. Motion and second to appoint Angela as chair of the IRC tag. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, congratulations. Is there a suggested alternate, or is anybody interested in fulfilling that position?
I guess my name was in that position at one point. Is that what I?
That's
It
what I
was when
thought.
it was a combined tag.
When it was IRC WUI. Who's our current WUI chair and alternate right now?
We don't have one. That's the next, once we finish up with the IRC
Gotcha.
Seats, then we'll scoot over to the WUI tag.
Do we have any council members that are not on a tag as chair or alternate?
I'm not.
Katie, would you like to jump in?
If there, I don't have subject matter expertise in this, which is why I have not stepped in. So that would be my concern. But that being said, I would step in if needed.
Okay, Jay, you had a comment?
Also willing to step in the same vein. Pete was the alternate on the WUI that I'm not bringing any particular expertise, but it could run a meeting in the chair's absence.
Okay, Jill?
Yeah, I guess I was just gonna say in general, we typically haven't had a co-chair council member on committees in the past, and I don't know that we need to. I think, you know, the meetings are scheduled at the by the chair. So it's not like the state building code council meetings that are kind of scheduled way in advance, and if the chair can't make it, you need a secondary person. So just speaking in to suggest that we don't really need, in my opinion, we don't really need a co-chair for these.
I think it's handy, but nonetheless. Okay, Angela, go ahead.
So, I mean, as far as being a subject matter expert, the chair isn't there to weigh opinions normally. They're basically there to run the meeting. So not having any expertise might keep you from piping out when you it's inappropriate. Just saying.
Jay wouldn't do that. Jay, are you interested in fulfilling that spot?
Sure, Katie was there first. I want to defer to her if she had a strong preference on being the alternate.
I do not. And if we're going to need a backup for the WUI, I could just as soon do that one as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Then, yes, Mr. Chair, I'm willing to serve.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept Jay as the alternate chair?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? I think both Tom and Katie moved the motion.
I'll do one or the other.
Okay,
Yeah, same.
there we go. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, wonderful. Dustin, do we have applicants for the various positions on these tags?
No, we do not. So the purpose of this portion of this agenda item is to solidify the seats that we would be soliciting applications for. I believe when the original tags for Group 1 were established, at our meeting, we discussed the chair membership of each tag, and then there was an opportunity for Stoyan to work with those chairs to fully lay out the proposed seats within that group. So I didn't have the benefit of doing that. So when I set up the composition of the IRC and the WUI tags, I relied heavily on the 2021 membership roster and looking at what was in the current one that was approved prior to us breaking it apart again. So if we could move forward today to approve the seats as I have drafted, we could alter them a little bit. I don't have suggestions in this one for alternates as they're kind of composed as an amalgam of the 2021 and previous WUI residential one. And the other option, I guess, is we could table this till the July meeting and give me an opportunity to work with the new chairs of these groups to vet the positions a little bit more before we make a motion on them.
If you could start by putting Jay's name in the alternate position.
Oh, thank you.
And then if we could, I guess, let's look at it. I thought we had discussed these at one point in time, but maybe not. Are they both at 15 members?
Yes.
Okay.
And the big thing that I have over here on the WUI code, you'll notice some other color coding, is trying to keep that group from being specifically one-sided. So the blue is what I've kind of identified as building related. Then I've got red as fire, and then I'm trying to cover cities and counties and some of the nature interested parties in there. And then I've got some in not colored that are just kind of random in there. But as far as what we have here on the residential tag, this is all based on previous compositions, and I added, I think, one or two more to fill it out.
I guess I would ask Angela specifically if she's happy with the makeup of the committee, or if she'd like to consider it further and come back in July. I'd prefer to dispose of it today if we could.
So my only question is the 15th position. There's no ANSI requirements in the IRC. So I mean that position is more geared towards the IBC. I mean, I don't want to discount that community. I'm just saying that there is actually no section in the IRC that that refers to accessibility.
You're correct. Yeah, there is no A1171.
Right.
That was kind of my main thing when I was struggling for the 15th position. I was presented with a quandary of what I should fill in there, and the persons with disabilities occupy several spots in some of our other groups that in codes that may not necessarily have specific application there. So that's why I put it in there. But I am not married to that proposition.
I think we had HVAC near the top, is that correct?
My question is, can we make that a little bit smaller, who's ever sharing, so we can look at all 15 at once? Thank you.
All the chair stuff on there, but we got the rest of the positions.
Oh, there we go. We have mechanical contractor at 11. What about plumbing or electrical?
I think I had that in here, kind of covered by construction trades. We could break that into 2 spots.
Okay.
So the issue with plumbing is it's UPC, not IRC. Not to mix things up. And electrical is also not in the IRC.
Do you have a suggestion of a more suitable grade for
No,
that?
I just like to shoot things down. Sorry. I'm thinking.
In the meantime, how about Todd? You got something?
Well, I was going to say, this is frankly where I'd like to see the capital A affordable housing representative, because the affordable housing developer up top is not the same as what we're talking about in terms of capital stack.
Okay.
So just putting it out there.
Okay,
Keep it as home builder up there and maybe change this one to affordable housing.
Representative.
I think that's a good suggestion. Craig?
I just wanted to point out that we use 15 as a maximum. We don't have to have 15 if there's really not a purpose, a functional purpose and a benefit to the committee to have them there. That's it.
And we may not fulfill all positions either. So, but yeah, good. That is a good point.
Yeah, I like that.
You like that? Chair alternate Jay, you have any feedback?
Yeah, I'm just going to interject here. My recommendation was not developer; it was a representative, someone more on the capital stack side.
There you go.
Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Damon. I'm fine with this lineup, and even though there isn't specific accessibility requirements in the IRC, I do think when we look at slot 12 for general public, if there is somebody that is from looking at things from a universal design standpoint, that would be something that could fill that particular slot. So I'm comfortable with having a capital A affordable housing representative in lieu of disabilities, but we want to stay open to the right person. I think we have the slot for that if there was an opportunity.
Yeah, by all means, if somebody from that group applied, that would be the spot to slide them into.
Yep.
So, okay. Is there a motion to accept this this committee makeup?
So moved, Angela.
Okay.
I will second that, Craig.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. We have a motion and a second. Seeing no further hands up, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, so next on our list is the chair and alternate chair for the WUI tag.
Okay. Pete, are you willing to take this position?
I don't want to be chair of that. I don't feel qualified to do that. But I would be happy to be alternate, but Katie expressed a desire also to be alternate too. So I don't feel qualified to be chair.
Okay, Katie, would you want to take this position?
Sure.
Okay. Could I get a motion for Katie as chair and Pete as alternate?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Any comments as to the makeup of the committee? Tom?
Yeah, we had talked during one of the previous discussions about this, that we have somebody from emergency management perhaps defined on there.
Yeah.
Um,
Would that kind of fall into the fire marshal, fire chief's position? Tom, do you think?
I mean, it could, if they're thinking, on a broad scale.
You're right. Okay.
But, I'm not one of them. I just know them. So.
Right. Angela?
So I guess that was kind of going to be my question, is what's the difference between, I know the rank is different, but I mean, what's the difference between the position for fire marshal and fire chief? I know they're two different associations, but are they representing kind of the same group?
Dan, can you weigh in on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they are two different groups. They do weigh in a little bit different. Like a fire marshal, we're going to be looking at things when new development are coming in and making sure that there's hydrants and that kind of stuff. By a fire chief is going to be more responsible for an actual fire. So we're trying to prep them with, turnarounds and hydrants, so they can do their jobs. But there is a subtle difference in that the fire chiefs are looking more the big picture of the fire itself, while we're trying to do prevention. So I know it's a subtle difference, but there is a big difference between the two.
And before I call in Chell, if I could ask one follow-up question, the fire protection engineer, there was nothing really in the WUI that was dictating sprinklers. So would that be better served as an emergency management position? Dan, do you have any thoughts on that?
So there are requirements for sprinklers if people don't have water and all that. So yes, there is some requirements for it.
I'm saying specifically in the WUI though.
Yeah, no, in the WUI code there is. I like the idea of having an emergency management there, because like in Kittitas County, the emergency manager is actually one of the sheriffs. So they do bring a different perspective than the fire marshal or the fire chief. But not all, I'm just talking Kittitas County. So some places are, it is a fire chief or something. So it's going to depend on the makeup of the county and the city. But I do think that the emergency management, because they deal with a little bit different, than the fire chiefs and the fire marshals, I think it's very important to have an emergency manager on the board.
Whitman County is a lot like that too, where they're very different in their approach to things.
Okay, good information. Chell?
Yeah, I was going to ask what emergency management means to the people who are saying it, and I heard a little bit, but I guess I'm not as familiar with what that person does, or if there's a consistent definition of what that person is or responsibilities.
Okay. Are you looking for further information then?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what the person does that's not a fire marshal, not a fire chief.
So in my opinion, the emergency management, like they deal with any kind of an emergency. It could be a flood, it could be, COVID. They were very active in COVID. So they bring a different perspective than in just the WUI with fire. They're going to look at all kinds of emergencies, which can, like I said, be a flood, could be an earthquake. They're going to look at a little bit higher level. Right, in the wildland urban, we're looking at preventing fires and what happens with the fire. But I think an emergency manager, the proper one, is going to bring a different perspective of looking at all emergencies, not just the WUI. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, our emergency manager is the one who actually calls for the declaration of an emergency too. So.
Thanks. That helped.
Okay, Roger?
Yeah, I like emergency manager being in there. My question is 13, the manufacturer, supplier, and fire protection engineer isn't I mean, other than sprinklers, what manufacturer supplier are we looking at for the WUI? And so maybe the fire protection gets lumped into that 13.
That was kind of my intent of putting that one in that slot there, because we do field a lot of questions on, is this material acceptable for the application of providing the fire resistance on the outsides of these structures? And so that's why I have the manufacturer supplier there to have input on their side of what their materials might be.
Yeah, and I think of people like Brian Horseman from Hardy plank, because it's a cementitious product, is part of a 1 hour assembly, but is not a 1 hour assembly in and of itself.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, Angela?
Yeah, so I mean, as far as the manufacturer supplier, I think they're actually really important because a huge part of the WUI is the hardening.
Yep.
And I mean, that's completely materials and things that aren't necessarily IRC normal, especially when you're talking about the houses in the WUI. The emergency management to me, I mean, is a bit iffy because they are kind of dealing with the aftermath, not the actual prevention. But that's again, the fire protection engineer, I'm not sure, do they just deal with smoke with sprinklers? Because I know they do smoke control systems, they do things like that. So as far as that, I'm not sure that they're just, sprinkler systems. Yes, they're the ones that design those, but they also do other full systems that are required. So I still like them in there somewhere.
Okay. Chell, is your hand still up?
Sorry.
Okay, so to move forward with this, Roger, you got a comment?
Yeah, I just have one more question that I was not too into the details of the WUI code. I believe that the WUI code has recommendations for both residential and commercial buildings. Is that correct?
Yes.
It is not only residential? Okay.
Yeah, it covers all construction.
Yeah.
So IBC and IRC.
Yeah. That doesn't help me form an opinion one way or the other.
And again, I mean, certainly on the IFC, the fire code, we need to have a fire protection engineer, somebody in that realm. Whereas the WUI might say that sprinklers are required at a certain level. I don't think it goes into the details of sprinkler systems. Am I correct? Okay. Katie?
Just this is about the vote, who gets a vote. So I guess it comes down to who do we want to have the vote here? An emergency management person or a fire protection engineer? Is that kind of where we're landing?
Yes.
And so I guess I would land on the emergency management side just because those are our frontline communities, and that seems like a voice that would be great to bring to the table.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
Sure. I'll move to accept the seat appointments as they're outlined here.
Okay.
I'll second that, Roger.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the makeup of this committee, or tag rather? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Wonderful. That completes item 7 on the agenda. Is there anything else in item 7, Dustin, we didn't cover?
No, sir, we have completed that one, and I appreciate us kind of getting all that out of the way there, because now we can open the recruitment for it, and the work doesn't begin for group 2 until next year, but we can establish this and get them going and have a little bit more time on that.
Fantastic. Okay. Item number 8 is the MVPE committee report. We got an opinion request from June 4th on the residential heat pump. Dustin, you want to lead that off?
I'm going to turn this one over to Krista on this.
Okay.
Okay, so this was a request we got in. I think it originated with WSU in their hotline and submitted through West Richland.
Okay.
And this is one that we struggled with a bit at the MVPE committee and decided to ask for some additional inputs and see if we could get one of the proponents to speak to it. In the interim, we got a little bit of suggested modification, which is the base pan heater in the answer there is moving this up. Oops. I can get my fingers to work. Is adding this sentence in lieu of, this should have been struck as well. In lieu of the end sentence there.
Okay.
So the question is, under what circumstances can supplemental heat such as base pan warmers be provided and meet the requirements for system type 4 with table R406.3 option 3.3 or 3.6? The proposed answer is electric resistant supplemental heat within a unit can be installed provided the unit performs per the federal definition for cold climate heat pump, and it is included in the NEEP qualified product list. Base pan heaters and outdoor compressors are acceptable in any heat pump system as needed. Footnote A allows additional supplemental heat for the dwelling unit.
Okay. I see, well, let's go ahead and call on Jay first.
Okay, just some background on the committee discussion. Originally, you can see the struck through language that was originally proposed. We did get some public comment that base pan heaters, instead of being integral, are an add-on option in some cases, and we wanted to have the opportunity for further public comment and consideration by the council and a chance to look at a new draft of the code, which Chris has provided.
Okay. I see Jonathan Jones is an attendee. Jonathan, is there anything you want to add to this? I know that you were involved in this topic. Go ahead, Jonathan. You're muted.
My option was not available. I apologize.
There you go.
The questions raised here is a bit of a summary, I believe. And the summary is missing a particular piece of information here. If maybe I can just give a quick explanation of what we're looking for in the question. The issue is there are these units that are on the NEEP list. I don't want to get into product specification, but I'm going to give you one in particular that one of my locals use in my area. It is a unit that produces about 24,000 BTUs. It is on the NEEP list, which means it provides the the requirement of the efficiency, the COP of at least 1.75 at 5 degrees. But at this temperature, it's now providing maybe 17,000 BTUs. So the difference is capacity. We're looking for capacity at this point, not efficiency. And there's nowhere in the code where it points to the amount of backup that can be put in, what the lockout temperature for that should be at, and so forth. And so it's looking at specifically when would you be able to use this new electric resistive supplemental heat for these cold climate units? Is it the design temperature for the city? Say you're in Richland, which is 11 degrees. Option number 2 specifies a 38-degree lockout. These units fall in option number 4. So as you go read through the code, there's no specification for temp lockout if this electric resistive is allowable, which is usually determined by a manual of some sort.
Okay,
Thank you.
So then does our answer as shown on the screen address that properly? Or is there not enough there?
It does not mention when these other units may actually be turned on. In the code says 100% of the load must be met by heat pumps at the design temp, but when you pass that design temp, such as we hit negative 17 degrees, the systems don't have enough capacity. So when do we get to add on the additional capacity to make sure that people have enough heat for their units? This is what we're looking for.
Okay. Chell, do you have a comment?
Yeah, question for Jonathan, and sorry I didn't call you back this week, Jonathan. I've been busy with other things. My understanding is system type 4 has no supplemental heat. That's not an onboard supplemental heat for the unit chosen. System type 2 has a lot of supplemental heat. That's my understanding. Is that how you are approaching this, Jonathan?
Well, I think the problem is the terms aren't clear amongst the industries that use them. You know, people use supplemental and backup, auxiliary, secondary heat sources, which if you read the code, it now says alternative heat sources as well. That's a lot of terms for trying to say the same thing. When we generally talk about supplemental, we mean supplemental as backup. It's usually integrated into a unit to ensure that the unit continues to perform when it's outside its specific ranges. An auxiliary system is when you switch from one type of system completely to another system because the other system can't work, such as system type 2, right? And then you got the other ones that, like, if you read through these ones, if you apply the footnote A as supplementary, but you're using supplementary as the same term as the unit, you're having a problem here because now you're limiting the size of the kWh unit that I can put into the unit that's supposed to provide the rest for that unit. Does that make sense?
I'm following you. And of course, one might argue you could oversize the unit, but then you're dealing with short cycling for the majority of the year. And
absolutely,
just so you don't suffer during the small season where you're down at negative temperatures. Ben?
And maybe Jonathan, I don't know if you could help clarify that the question is stated here is using base pan warmers as an example of supplemental heat.
No, I don't. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I wanted to see if you could help clarify for the council and everyone like that. This wouldn't be supplementing the actual heat output of the unit, but it would potentially be providing a means of defrosting the equipment to allow it to continue to operate during cold outdoor temperatures.
Correct. Like the base pan, and if you read the NEEP, it wasn't a question for me. There was some question for some folks in the industry that were curious if the base pans was an issue as far as qualification goes. And when you read the NEEP certification requirements, it specifically says that if the unit passes without the base pan, it passes with it. So as part of, so that was never a bigger issue. I do think there was it was included as part of the confusion from the public. And so we just want to make sure that was clarified too, that that's what the NEEP list says. But NEEP requirement just says it has to provide an efficiency. It doesn't talk about the capacity at that efficiency at that temperature. So for instance, I could have a really, really efficient candle, but that candle is not going to keep me warm. It's not enough. I need more candles.
Wouldn't that be up to the person who sizes the system and not up to the energy code?
But the footnote A kicks in for all system types 4 and 5 units. I'm sorry, the system type 4 selections. So if you look at option 3.3 and 3.6, both of them have footnote A and footnote D on them, which say they must be taken with either option number 4 or number 5, And then each one also says that it's limited to the additional heating by 500 watts or half of a watt per square foot, whichever is larger.
So you're suggesting that the question is maybe not the right question as worded, because I hear you say, you talked about one specific unit type. I guess I want to understand what the question is and what kind of answer you're looking for. Because I don't think the question you're talking about is the question that's on the screen in front of us.
Again, this is a summarized attempt at a very much longer question because the problem was all based around capacity. Capacity of the units, the ability to provide the full amount of heat load to the unit at all temperatures. Even when it falls outside, say, the 11 design temp for Richland, we hit negative temperatures here all the time. If the unit down there doesn't give you all the heat, we have a problem. At that point, that supplementer needs to come in. Option number 2 limits the time in which you can switch over at 38 degrees. These cold climate units are supposed to function well below 38 degrees. When can these cold climate units then turn on the supplementary heat that you say you can put in, but then you kind of got a conflicting language with footnote A.
Okay, so it sounds like we need to reword the question because, is that correct?
Yes, it's not about base pan heaters. It's specifically about at what temperature can each city turn on its supplementary heat for these cold climate units.
Okay, I'm not prepared to hazard an answer to that today. If we wanted to change the question to something like what you just said, I think we could do some research and either come up with an answer or come up with some way to answer that question. But I don't know that we can I think we could approve this today, but it's not the question you're asking. So we may want to kick this can down the road and revise the question and then try and figure out an answer. Does that sound like a good approach?
Yeah, the other one I provided was about 2 pages, asking kind of which definition of cold climates you're going to use, because there's some new rulings on some new definitions out there, and it talks specifically to capacity. I provided those as guidance. The original draft I received back of the question said something a little different than this. Yeah, so if you really want to go back to the original question, and it's about 2 pages, I do apologize, but it's specifically talking about the issue of, like, in my area where we were negative 17 degrees, New Tradition Builder over here was at negative 13 for a couple of weeks. When we hit those temperatures, some of these cold climate units that are on the NEEP list, they need a little help, but there's no rule set that says when and how much I can turn that on.
Okay. Jay, go ahead.
Given the discussion, I think for the topic, we're not done, but I think that we should try to break this 2-page set of clarifications that Mr. Jones has submitted into pieces. This is one piece, and I would move that we accept this recommendation and refer the remainder of the issues that Mr. Jones brings forward to the MVPE committee.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Jonathan, does this get us partway there?
The biggest issue is going to be, I mean, it gets you through the bedpan, at least clarification for folks, but it doesn't solve any of the issues as far as the supplementary heat and the cold climate, the really cold side of the state.
Okay, but this doesn't do any harm either, correct?
Correct. This does not do any harm. It just recertifies the same thing that the NEEP list said, which is that the base pan heaters, if you pass without it, you pass with it.
Okay.
I'll second the motion since we are still waiting for a second.
All right, thank you. Pete, go ahead, and then Andrea.
I'd like to make a slight amendment, just under what circumstances can base pan warmers be provided? Eliminate the supplemental heat. I think it clarifies the question so that it addresses that specific issue, gets that out of the way, and I think it meets the intent of what Jay is suggesting or made a motion for. So a friendly amendment.
Or as it appears on the screen with the strike through?
Works for me.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Andrea?
Hi, Andrea again with BIW. Just wanted to kind of echo the importance of this issue. Everyone I've talked to has been oversizing their equipment for the houses that they're building, and I don't think that's what we want to necessarily encourage among industry with our energy code. So trying to get to a resolution on Jonathan's larger question, I think is in as quick of a manner as possible is going to be super important for industry and for, you know, the energy usage that we're trying to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to clarify for the council, so you look at your heat loss of your envelope, and then you look at your design temperature, and that dictates the amount of BTUs or the size of your system, okay? So, and it takes the worst case heat loss on the worst case day when you're down at that design temp at, for example, 11 degrees. But if you surpass that, you can still hit the coefficient of performance or the COP, yet not have the capacity to heat the house properly, and the house continually loses energy until, you know, people are cold. Likewise, we allow in the code to oversize by 140%, but oversizing a system means that it short cycles, and systems that short cycle never hit their rated HSPF or COP. So that's even worse in the long run. Short cycling is a bad thing. So this is certainly something that we need to get addressed. I was thinking, well, at least it's summertime and we don't need to address it till winter, but these are houses that are being built now. So it's something that we really should get on. There's a motion and a second to accept how we have it here on the screen. Is there any further discussion? Chell?
I guess if we would consider a slightly different question, would we need to have the city of West Richland submit that other question? Or is this something that we could work with others to revise the question later if we approve this?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if everybody's aware. Jonathan is the energy. I don't know what your title is, Jonathan, but WSU Energy Extension, certainly an expert in this category. And they are the only hotline in the state that they have the energy code hotline. So they're getting slammed with phone calls rather than everybody you know, calling the council. So whatever we can do to help them out is important.
Yeah, so I guess I wanted to make sure that we could work with Jonathan and others, and Andrea as well, perhaps, to make sure we have the right question and then figure out a reasonable answer to it. Or do we need to go, if we approve that motion, do we need to then go back to West Richland and have them submit something different? Because what happened was West Richland submitted a long Word document, as Jonathan alluded to, and Krista and I helped a little bit, attempted to distill a question out of that, and apparently it was not the exact right question. So I guess we probably, in thinking this through, we probably have the latitude to take that because it was submitted by West Richland, that long Word document, and distill another question out of that, work with Andrea and Jonathan and others to ask the right question. So I've talked myself out of it. I think we probably as a council have the latitude to do that because it was submitted to us. So
yeah, and that's one of the hiccups in the road here is that we only allow clarifications from building officials, where there should be a loophole to allow WSU in there as well, but we don't have that in our bylaws or in the legislation. Jay?
I was going to mention some of what Chell said, but also would like to get some input from Dustin and Krista on whether this gives you what you need for us to continue to clarify this, if you had any comment.
I think, given what was submitted, that we can certainly consider that and not request additional input from West Richland, and we can work with everybody involved to draft up another question.
Okay.
Thank you.
let's see if possible, we could maybe do that prior to our July emergency meeting. Roger?
That's exactly what I was going to say, is I understand the importance of getting it dealt with, and I would rather not wait until a September meeting. The meeting in July that we are going to have is a special meeting, which I believe you need to, when you call the meeting, it has to be, the agenda items have to be identified. So I would urge everybody, let's get this resolved and let's make a decision by our July meeting so that we can give direction to the industry.
Okay. Perfect. Jonathan, I saw you had your hand up.
I was just going to mention there was 2 additional questions in the document that I think may have got lost in the weeds that are super important to be answered too. So if those could be addressed at the same time with the other one, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I would hope that you and Andrea and Krista and Dustin could come together and iron this out so we have the question phrased correctly. Jay?
And just one point of clarification on Roger's point. Under our RCW and our practices, if the committee was unanimous in approving a interpretation, it doesn't go through the full council. So we may be able to act independently of that special meeting if it's clear. In fact, there were 3 other interpretations that the MVP committee approved at our last meeting that are not coming before the full council today.
Okay,
thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion on the table is to accept the interpretation as written. And I think supplemental to that was to get the important players together to further clarify the other questions. So with that, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us from the first item of item 8. I'd like to take a quick break if we could. Let's adjourn for 15 minutes and come back together at that would be 12:07. Okay. Okay, it looks like we're back in action. Could we take a quick roll call to ensure we have a quorum?
Shell Anderson,
Maybe I jumped the gun. It looks like not everybody's back yet.
I'm here. I'm just gonna be eating, so I'm gonna put my
Gotcha.
camera back on.
I'll come back.
Okay.
Jay Arnold. Here. Todd Bayreuther. Damon Doyle.
Here.
Tom Handy.
Here.
Angela Hoff.
Here.
Roger Haringa.
Here.
Greg Holt.
Here.
Ben O'Mara.
Here.
Pete Ricky.
Here.
Katie Sheehan.
Here.
Dan Young. Go back to Shell Anderson. Todd Bayreuther.
Todd is muted.
And Dan Young.
Without acknowledgement, do we have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We are on item number 8 on our agenda. We discussed the first bullet point. Second bullet point is adoption of standard UL 60335-2-40-2022, 4th edition. Dustin, if you could bring us up to speed on that.
This one I will also be looking to Krista.
Okay.
Okay, so there was legislation in 2021 requiring, well, it wasn't requiring the council, it was requiring ecology to adopt rules on global warming potential of refrigerants. And under that, they were setting deadlines for when it could go into effect based on rules that were adopted by the council. One of those standards, the UL 60335-240 edition 4, wasn't published until after we had adopted the 2021 codes. And so now that it's been published and been published for a while, the question is, does the council want to move forward with adoption of this as an expedited rule based on the requirement in statute? Or do they want to go through the full rulemaking process? I'm not real familiar with the standard, so I don't know how much of a change it would be for the stakeholders. And I believe Ben Omura had some additional information on that and the ecology process.
Okay. Ben, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, sure. And thanks, Christopher, going through that. I guess one of the first questions I had when reviewing this was that it looks like we're looking at the HB 1050 here. However, the RCW 70A.60 language does appear to be slightly different than this. So I was curious where that had been amended. So I don't know if Dustin or Krista, you could pull that up, but I just, because I think it was telling in that, in the difference that in the RCW, it's indicating the standards as of January 1, 2022. And as Krista had mentioned, the UL 60335 -2-40 edition 4 had not been published as until July of 2022. So,
December 2022.
or December, was it December? Okay.
It was December, yeah.
Well, yeah, but after January, and definitely after a lot of the 2021 code cycle amendments and discussion had concluded. So I guess reviewing this, I think there definitely needs to be some more clarification, both working with Department of Ecology and other folks who developed the bill language and the RCW to understand is the intent to have edition 4 of this UL standard also be accompanied by the latest versions of the ASHRAE standards that are mentioned here, as those carry a lot of important safety requirements that go along with the updated UL standard. So that was one thing that I had noted and found when going through this. And I'll say that for the 2024 code cycle, the edition 4 of this UL standard is referenced in the model code, as well as the accompanying ASHRAE standard 15 2022 edition. So for the 2024 edition of the code, this should all be synchronized and be in a format that would align with each other. However, what this is asking us to do is to look at adopting this newer edition of the UL standard, where we may have a discrepancy with some of the ASHRAE standards, as well as what has kind of been aligned within the model code language. So that's where I feel there might be some additional discussion or review required to understand what other implications adopting this updated standard would have. On a kind of high level for where this standard is referenced in the current codes, it's really looking at equipment listing requirements. And my understanding is a lot of the manufacturers have been orienting themselves to this new addition, but I think it would be recommended to receive additional public comment. And if the council does see it fit to move forward, I would definitely recommend we would do off-cycle rulemaking rather than an emergency rule.
Okay, so there's really no sense of urgency here. If it's already coming up in the next code cycle, is that in essence what your recommendation is?
Yeah, and Krista can probably provide some more background on kind of where ecology is, where this kind of falls with what we're meant to do, and then what ecology is pushing us to do, because the effective date of the Department of Ecology requirements in the WAC 173443 for low GWP refrigerants is triggered on the building codes referencing this updated UL standard. So that will start a 24-month clock for effective implementation of this low GWP requirement for a certain class of equipment.
Okay. Shell?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. This is really useful. I think I'm in support of what you said, which is not emergency rule, but off-cycle rulemaking that we would start probably today and then take lots of public comment, work with ecology, and work with all stakeholders so that this could be implemented within the 2021 codes and start the 24-month clock. So I agree with that, and I'll make a motion later, but that's where I stand, and I think that's the yeah. I'll let others speak.
You're free to make a motion now if you'd like.
I want to hear what others have to say.
Okay, Roger.
Well, so if we pass it now, there starts a 24-month period, but I hear that it's already included in the 24 model code. So the requirement will go into effect, I forget, is it in November of 2026 is when we're supposed to adopt the 2024 code? I believe that's the right time. I'd have to double check that exactly.
It would go into effect in 2028 because that's 24 months after 2026.
But they would have to meet the code anyway, right? They would have to meet. All right, I see.
Right. So like the WAC requirement is predicated on the code being effective.
Okay.
And so that would then start the clock for the low GWP. So the mechanical code and other codes don't stipulate a certain GWP requirement for equipment. That's all handled in the WAC.
All right, thank you.
Andrea, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you again. So the way that I was just reading what was pulled up on the screen a little bit ago was that we might have missed a deadline. I don't know. I think it was January 1 of 2023. So I think we might have even missed the window of opportunity for acting on this. So it'd be great to get some clarification on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, what it was if it would, let me pull the other one back up. There were two different sets of criteria. One was it would be effective if the council adopted the rule before January 1, 2023, it would go into effect on January 1st, 2025. However, if the council hasn't adopted it, then it would be effective no earlier than 24 months after the adoption of that standard. So it sets a deadline for the Department of Ecology, but not for the Building Code Council.
Okay. Shell?
I guess I'll take the suggestion. I'll just make a motion to enter off-cycle rulemaking to update the code to include this reference.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Wait, hold on a second. Sorry, it's Derek.
Yep.
Everyone. One of the key questions here is whether that's going to be done through the ordinary rulemaking process, through expedited rulemaking. My understanding, Chell, is you're proposing ordinary rulemaking process.
I guess I had a question, and Matt probably should have asked a question with expedited versus off cycle. I don't fully understand the difference.
Well, they're both.
Expedited, you don't give public testimony.
But I mean, it's all off cycle, right? That's not really a legal term. That's something that we just use kind of as a term of art in our world. But the key difference between expedited and what I'll call traditional rulemaking is, just as Krista said, there would be a notice and then a comment period, both written, and then a hearing, and then filing of a CR 103. Expedited would just go straight to the filing of the rule, with a opportunity afterwards for members of the public to object, to put it into the traditional rulemaking lane.
Thank you. I guess I would defer to want public comment on this, and especially comment from ecology and others. Does staff have a recommendation?
I believe your original motion was clear that we would be going into the off-cycle rulemaking and beginning that process, filing the CR 101, 102, and then hearings later.
Okay, thank you. I'll stick with the original motion, which is off-cycle rulemaking that includes lots and lots of public comment in the CR 101, starting with that to include this, the reference for the statute.
Okay, Senator Wilson.
Thank
Did we
you.
get a
Mr.
second?
Chair.
Point of order, did we get a second? I guess we did.
Yes, you
Oh,
did,
sorry.
Roger. Yep. Okay, go ahead, Senator.
Okay. I guess what I'm hearing here right now is off cycle, which, like you said, is something that the term that is used within. But I think we need to start looking at and using the legal terminology, which would be emergency rulemaking versus interim rulemaking. So I think if you're going to make a motion, it shouldn't be off cycle, it should be interim. And then make sure that we can do that according to the bill. So what constitutes as interim code adoption cycle in the new language, in the new law? So I don't know, Dirk, if that's an important point here, or is off cycle different than interim?
Yeah, you raise so this is a really important point that Senator Wilson is raising. We're kind of in this new regime now, right? Under the I forget, Senator Wilson, what the bill number was. It's called the new law.
6291.
6291, thank you. 6291 does create some additional parameters or I'll use the term off-cycle rulemaking. I mean, that's traditionally what we've characterized it, but I mean, to Senator Wilson's point, there's a kind of a little bit of a different construct in the statute. And so we would want to be mindful that as we move forward with any rulemaking, that it's following the requirements of the law, which is a number that I've already forgotten the bill number, forgive me.
Chell?
So my understanding from the bill, Senator Wilson, is that there is a period 12 to 18 months after original implementation of the codes that would be where rules could be updated. And I guess my understanding, and this is a question as well, is that the council would probably need to work on rules ahead of that 12 to 18 month period after implementation, such that at some point between 12 and 18 months after implementation, the rules would be updated, but we wouldn't be prohibited from working on rules ahead of that 12 to 18 month period, because sometimes these take a long time to get through. That's my understanding. So if we were working on this rule and it was to be implemented as an interim rule, which could be as early as March 15th, 2025, then we could do this robust public process and be ready for the rule to be implemented at that time. That's my assumption going into this, but I'd love to hear from others on their interpretation of it.
Representative Rommel.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Joe, I think that's consistent with my understanding. The only thing I would add to that is that I think the intent, at least in my working on that bill, is that those changes for the interim would be batched. So the idea is to make one set of changes. And I think the bill does say one time between 12 and 18 months, right? So the idea is not that we're changing it several times there, but that there's some consistency and predictability that helps the code council to manage workflow, but also means that the folks using the codes have that reliability. Is that consistent with others' understanding?
Okay, Chell?
I'm sorry, I was fumbling around with my computer. Chell, do you mind if I say something real quick? Yeah, so Representative Remmel, that is consistent with what the statute says. I'm looking at section 6 of 6291. I've got the number right. But it is referring to substantive updates to the state building code, which shall occur only once during the 3-year state building code adoption cycle. It goes on to say that no substantive provision may be adopted, amended, or repealed except during the 3-year code adoption cycle. And then it provides a couple of exceptions to that for emergency amendments. So I've never read that as precluding technical updates, if necessary, or certainly updates that would be required under by a change in federal or state law or some other need to conform the state building code to another statute. And if my understanding is completely different than the authors of the bill, then I say so with some trepidation and concern, but that's what I believe the statute says.
Okay, Shall I see your hand up? Oh.
Yeah, so my assumption here is that multiple rules could be worked on by the council, or multiple changes could be worked on by the council, and then all batched together and implemented at some point in the 12 to 18 month period. That's my assumption. So this would then be possibly one of those rules. There could be other things that we work on that would all go into that batch update. The other question is that legislation or changes made in response to legislation has a free pass to be updated outside of that period, is my understanding. So I don't know that this legislation demands action. So it's not like, so I guess my initial interpretation of this is that this legislation does not demand action by the Building Code Council, and therefore this could be outside of that 12 to 18 month period. So my intent would be that this would fall into that interim period of updates that 6291 suggests.
Okay.
So should I revise my motion to refer to it as an interim update? Is interim the correct term then that everybody agrees on?
Yeah, again, I'm going to just jump in here. What the statute refers to is not an interim rule per se, but an interim rulemaking cycle for new rules that are within that window that's permissible under the statute.
Okay, I'll stick to my original motion, which is off cycle, which seems to be the correct term.
Yeah, when I was suggesting that, I was looking at the item 6 and considering that this was based on a legislative mandate.
Oh yeah, there's the use of the word off cycle. It's in the bill. So it says there it is. Off cycle amendments to any of the Washington State building codes may be initiated at any time if directed by the legislature. If directed by the legislature.
That's the point, right?
Senator, go ahead.
Yeah, that's where the off cycle comes in if it's directed by the legislature.
Yeah, I'm going to concur with Senator Wilson. I think that that's intended to account for situations where the ledge comes in and says, hey, you need to do some new rulemaking, and then that's you would follow subsection 6. I did not see that as a kind of another pathway for off-cycle rulemaking.
And is this a case where it is a legislative directive?
That's an interesting question. I think the statute, which isn't new, or I don't think so, the one with respect to the Department of Ecology is, it appears to offer some discretion under it. It's not mandating it, and it certainly wasn't a direction by the legislature to open up new rulemaking, although arguably it could be seen as there's the types of gray areas, right, that we struggle with. My view is that I think you're on firm ground certainly to want to make technical changes, and going forward with a CR 101 might be a good way to surface some questions regarding the process itself. And I don't see a lot of risk in pushing forward with that pathway, but obviously we need to be mindful, Senator Wilson has warned, that we're doing consistent with 6291.
Okay. Senator Wilson, your hand's still up. Did you have some more? Chell?
It was the motion to engage in off-cycle rulemaking incorrect in the words I used?
Well, again, other than what has been highlighted here in subsection 6, the term off-cycle just means that it's not part of the normal rulemaking cycle. So technically it's not inaccurate, but you might want to say.
Is there a preferred term?
We haven't developed it yet. This is the first time we're doing it.
Off-cycle amendments is defined in this bill.
Yeah, you get to define it right now, Chell, in your motion.
That's a lot of pressure.
I know.
To engage in rulemaking, starting the CR 101 process on the issue, this particular issue, including this reference to an updated standard. I guess that's the motion, not particularly different than what I said before.
It is if we just follow the standard timeline and put this in adoption with our current stuff, doesn't it happen a lot about the same time anyways?
No.
It would be
under the current cycle.
Yeah.
No, this could be done within 2 months.
Okay.
I mean, it won't be, but 3, it could be done on a pretty quick schedule. With summer, we'll slow things down, but it would complete well before this first group goes to rulemaking.
Okay, Jay?
I've got 2 thoughts. One is, if we're making rulemaking under subsection 4 on the screen, we're initiating a window that says that this is the only chance to change those particular codes. And I don't know if there's other things that we have to consider that we would also need to initiate under that time. If we're initiating this under subsection 6, we're treating it as legislative direction, and that's interesting given that it's unlike some topics like the single staircase exits or electric vehicle charging stations, it's not specific direction by the legislature to say you shall adopt code here. So I think we need to be deliberate on whether this is interim code adoptions, we're starting an interim code adoption cycle under 4 or off-cycle rulemaking under 6.
Okay. Senator Wilson?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that in the bill, there's off cycles used twice, and the other one is the definition, which means amendments to the State Building Code Council, or sorry, to the State Building Code outside of the 3-year State Building Code adoption cycle is what off cycle definition is.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Thanks, Senator Wilson. I keep trying to pretend it's not a legal term, but it has become one. It's true.
Okay. Chell, could you restate your motion, please?
Okay, so Jay suggested that the motion include whether it's under number 4 here or number 6 here. Does that seem like a reasonable thing to do?
Jay, go ahead and pop in.
Yeah, and I guess my question is, if we do it under number 4, we would have to, maybe not at this meeting, but at some point define a window so we don't lose an opportunity for other interim changes to this code that we need to make.
Well, I guess I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm gonna jump in again well, frankly, I think this is a great discussion. We anticipated that something like this would have to happen eventually, right? Because of the changes under 6291. So, to me, the least risky pathway would be use this as an opportunity to have the motion specify that the council is initiating and implementing an interim code adoption cycle, because the majority is determined that a cycle is needed to correct errors and omissions, eliminate obsolete, conflicting, redundant, or unnecessary regulations. Here, the error, if there is one, would be the fact that their current code isn't fully aligned with the Department of Ecology's guidelines, and so that would be, I think, an approach that's consistent, plainly consistent with 6291. There potentially could be other options too, but I think that would be the least risky approach.
Okay. Jill?
I'll let Katie go before I restate the motion.
Well, I was just gonna ask if we would be discussing this if would this issue have come up except for that the legislation required it, right? And so it could go under number 6, and that would give us potentially more flexibility. Is that fair to say? Or because I was thinking 6, but then after Dirk, I'm happy to go with number 4 as well.
Okay, Roger?
Yeah, I was kind of waiting to speak to as the second to the motion. Yes, it is new legislation. We are trying to find our way through it. My understanding is it does allow us to do an interim code adoption cycle between 12 and 18 months. My suggestion is that this would be yes, we would be opening up that code adoption cycle that will be formalized sometime between 12 and 18 months after the last code was adopted. This is one issue that would be included in that. I don't think that precludes us if there are other items that come up between now and the 12 months that we couldn't include other items into this interim code adoption cycle. So in my mind, going forward with this is one. Yes, we are going to do an interim code adoption cycle. The timeline is not set necessarily, but it does have to be within 12 and 18 months. And then after that time, if something comes up after that time, we'd have to wait until the next code adoption cycle. And that's my interpretation of the intent of the bill. But again, I'm not an author. It is to limit that we're going to do one code cycle, but it doesn't say that one code cycle can only include one item. It may include multiple items, and we may come up with something else 6 months from now that we would want to get it included into that interim code adoption cycle.
Yeah, and I think the discussion we had on the supplemental heat could be something that rises to the level of a code modification. So perhaps that can be included in there as well. So, okay, Jill.
Okay, I was asked to restate my motion, and I will, I guess, slightly modify or expand on my motion. It would be to update the reference per discussion earlier, in alignment with and enter off-cycle rulemaking in alignment with item 4 of on the screen in 6291, with some alignment with number 6, because there's a legislative thing that passed that is related to this. And then also that this may or may not be even a substantive change, which if it's not a substantive change would be exempted from number 4 and 6 compliance at all. So with that, that is my motion.
Okay, does the seconder agree?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Washington State Energy Go Commercial 403.1 rulemaking recommendation. Chell, is this you or Dustin? Do you want to take this?
This is back to Krista again.
Okay,
All of this agenda item will be Krista's.
got it. Krista, sorry, I'm not calling you directly. Krista, go ahead. Krista, looks like you're muted.
She's muted, but she's here on the audio.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
I'm just trying to
gotcha.
get things to work. So this comes back to the motion that we had in April on entering into rulemaking on the petition that we received from the Gas Association on the changes in C403.1.4. And the direction at that time was just that we begin the rulemaking process, which we did. We filed the CR 101, and we're approaching the time to publish the CR 102. And my question to the council is what language you would like to see filed in the CR 102. Would you like just the recommendation or the request coming from the Gas Association? Or would you like to see an option between that proposal and what is currently adopted? And the recommendation coming out of the MVPE committee is that we look at filing options with both the existing language and the proposed language in the petition. So Jay, if you want to elaborate on that.
Only that that gives us a chance to get the fullest range of public input and have maximum flexibility on what we decide to adopt after considering public comment.
Okay. Jay, would you like to put forth a motion?
Sure, I'd like to move that we that we direct staff to prepare a CR 102 with both the petitioner's language and the originally adopted code.
Okay, is there a second?
I will second it. Second. This is Craig.
Thanks, Craig. Chell?
Sure. A complaint was made, but this doesn't mean that we can't use the CR 103 language, which was what the majority of the council adopted in the final code. The complaint means we have to go through an additional rulemaking process. That doesn't mean we have to include the proponent's language in that, because other substantial changes were made from the CR 102 in the last cycle to the CR 103, including a last minute change to table R402.1.2 to the U factor for above grade walls, which has confused a lot of people and changed it from 0.0 or 0.56 to 0.45. I don't know that we need to include the complainer's language in the CR 102 as we move forward. That's my understanding.
Okay, Senator Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is actually Well, I guess in the motion, it says roll back to the originally adopted code. So before any vote takes place, I think that you need to go back to the language of the original adopted code so that we know what we're voting on. Because I think the issue here was we didn't follow the APA in the change, because this is substantive in the change when if you left in electrical or you did not leave in electric resistance. So if it isn't rolled back, then I think that leaves it SBCC back open up again to yet another lawsuit is what it appears to be. So can we go back to the original language that you're going to be voting on?
And I'd hope staff might be able to put that up on the screen. In the interim, Chell, you have a comment?
Yeah, to your point, Senator Wilson, if any substantive change from CR 102 to CR 103 was not possible, then we would go back to the original U factor for above grade walls in table R402.1.2. Nobody filed a complaint about that particular one, but yet it was a substantive change from the CR 102 to CR 103. So I guess I don't see it the way that no substantive changes are possible between the CR 102 and CR 103. What I see is someone complained about this one, and so we have to engage in the rulemaking process, but that doesn't mean we have to do what the proponent asks us to do. That's my understanding.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in for a second. So I just for the record, I didn't understand the council to be conceding that there was any APA violation when it accepted this petition. The APA doesn't require that there can't be any substantive changes. It instead requires that the variance can't. It requires that the variance can't be a substantial variance. And I think people of good faith can dispute whether there was a substantial variance or not a substantial variance. But really, to Chell's point, the council elected to engage in rulemaking here. It didn't have a duty or an obligation to do it. Elected in response to the petition to engage in rulemaking, and accordingly, it can adopt rules that it believes, at the will of the council, is the right policy. It's not limited to what the proponents of the rule change offered or what the original proposal was or any such thing. I'd also note too, in case any questions arise, that this rulemaking was initiated before 6291 went into effect. So that interim provision hadn't quite kicked in yet. And in my opinion, the council can take steps to adopt the right policy through this rulemaking, whatever they think the right thing to do is, of course, consistent with its obligations under the APA in this current rulemaking effort.
Okay. Senator Wilson.
I just want to clarify then, so you are going to be voting on number 5 in front of us, right? You're rolling it back to that, which was in November 28th meeting, correct?
Chell, is that correct? Is that your understanding?
Well, they're all number 5. There are 3 listings on the left: April 2022, EPCA, and adopted. The adopted is a CR 103. That is the current rule that's in place. The EPCA is, I don't know what that version is. Maybe is that the CR 102 version for the EPCA CR 102?
Yes, that's the CR 102.
Okay, then my question is, going from the CR 102 to the EPCA, which is the one that was supposed to be complying with EPCA, is EPCA number 5 there. The adopted includes electric resistance, which does not comply with EPCA. That's the point, because that was changed on December 10th or 12th or whatever day that was, we had that meeting. The electric resistance was put back in on that meeting. So that changed it from the November 28th meeting, which was the EPCA number 5, to adopted number 5, which again, put back in electric resistance. And you can see April 22, you came in November to change the April 22 because it did not comply with EPCA, internal electric resistance heaters, in April 2022. So if we don't change it back to EPCA number 5, then we will be out of compliance again, which is the point, and you will have more lawsuits.
Thank you. Chell, then Angela.
Yeah, I don't agree with the senator's statement about being compliant or out of compliance with EPCA. I think, but I think the germane question here is what motion was made to enter the CR 102 rulemaking process, and was it, and I think it was Senator Wilson asked this, was it put out both the adopted version and what the version that says EPCA on here? And I think that was the intent of the motion, as I understand it, and not to include the April 2022 version of it. Is that correct?
Are you asking Senator Wilson in particular?
I'm asking, the maker of the motion was Jay, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm asking you, the motion, and I think this is Senator Wilson's original question was, the motion is to put out both the one that says adopted and the one that says EPCA, both within the CR 102 as options. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay, Angela?
So I have a question, because I mean, part of what I got from the complaint was that it just didn't go through the proper process to go from EPCA to the adopted at the December meeting. And from what I understand, there was some controversy coming out of the December meeting as to how this all went down. And my question is, I guess, from what I understand, the adopted language was completely created and voted on at that meeting. So it never actually went out for public comment or anything like that. And I agree with Senator Wilson that this is a substantive change, and 2, it completely reverses what you did to bring it into compliance with EPCA. I mean, you're absolutely limiting it to electric again. So I'm just curious, between the two, I mean, was the adopted language created and voted on all in that December meeting?
Chell?
The adopted language was a public comment. So it was a response to a public comment by adopting the public comment.
Greg?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. It was my understanding the motion was to go back to EPCA 5, so therefore I withdraw my second of the motion.
Okay, Representative Rommel?
I guess before I get to what I was going to say, point of process, do we need a new second then?
I was gonna let you comment and then come back and ask for that if you wanted to. So
Okay.
Either one.
I'm happy to second the motion so we can continue the discussion. And then getting to my comment, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess just building on what Shell said, my understanding of the requirement of the APA is that you have public comment. And then if you, in a meeting responsive to the public comment that has come in, you listen to the public comment and you make changes. You don't then have to go back out a second time with the revised version as part of the CR 102. Tell me if I've got that wrong, Derek, but that's my understanding of the rule. And my read is that we're in compliance having followed that process.
Yeah, this is a really interesting conversation because it's actually touching on a whole bunch of different things: EPCA compliance, what the APA requires, and just as again, we've had this conversation a few times regarding the APA. I mean, what Representative Ramos said is necessarily right. I mean, we have public comments on proposed rules in order to make changes to the proposal after hearing from the public. It's really important to have the ability to make changes to your proposals. What the APA though says is that you can't just make any change and then have it become finalized, because if there's as I said before, a substantial variance between the rule that's filed for the CR 103 and what was proposed in the 102, and the APA kind of spells out some standards for determining what substantial variance means, then you need to do another round of comments on that change, right? So if there was a substantial variance here between the 103 and the 102 on this specific issue, there hasn't been any litigation about that. As a matter of fact, until we received this petition, that wasn't an issue that I was aware that anybody was surfacing publicly. But that's what this rulemaking would be not technically designed to do, but it would serve that purpose to have the public comment on this specific issue. The issue here being the change that was made, the policy change that was made in that 103. So this new rulemaking would be an opportunity for the public to comment on that policy. And we could hear, right, if you initiate the CR 102, you could hear from members of the public who say, this is a terrible idea, don't do it. It's not compliant with EPCA. You could hear from members of the public who'll say, it's a wonderful idea, and here's why it is compliant with EPCA. That's why we do notice and comment rulemaking. And as I understand it, that's kind of where we're at right now. Do you want to move forward with this rulemaking to make a change? You're not stuck. You can make additional adjustments to the proposal consistent with what you're allowed to do under the APA.
Okay.
And Representative Ramo, I just kind of went off on a jaunt there. I don't know if that was fully responsive to your question.
It is. It's helpful. I mean, you could imagine a never-ending loop there where you get comments, you make changes, and then you have to put it back out for more comments. You get more comments, that initiates more changes. You can be stuck in CR 102 forever under one interpretation of how that process works. I don't think that's what the APA intends.
Jay, then Senator Wilson.
A couple of clarifications to what I've heard. Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the council's already made a decision to enter rulemaking. We did that when we accepted this particular petition. The question today is really the scope of what gets published. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, and this is, I don't want to step on Krista's toes because she's the one who's been implementing. My understanding is the CR 101 was followed, and we're now at the CR 102 process where, the council is going to tell the world, here's what our proposal is as far as the change in the rules go.
Okay.
And then the public gets to comment on that, and you take those comments into account before finalizing it.
Great. And then secondly, to Craig's point, the petition itself that by council vote was accepted mentions the APA concern, not EPCA. I think that the discussion around de-risking around EPCA is a council decision, which we made in November, December next year. We can discuss it again as we consider it, but I look at what we're doing here in entering rulemaking is based on the petition's argument about APA and not about EPCA. And that's part of why I want to have as broad a discussion as possible, because one option that would be totally possible and appropriate is saying if the argument was, and not saying that we're accepting this argument, but by entering rulemaking, we've said we want to get additional public comment on that. We could get additional public comment and return to the adopted 5 language on the screen. That's a perfectly acceptable option for this. And I want to preserve that as a capability. Thank you.
Senator Wilson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we need to go back and remember why we voted November 28th for the EPCA change. There were 7 months worth of long discussions about how to comply with EPCA. That's the reason we went from the April meeting and then had to go in for months talking to attorneys, et cetera, to get this in compliance with EPCA. That's what you did in number 5, EPCA number 5, and supplemental heating sources, right? Internal electric resistance heaters to supplemental heat pump was removed in order to comply with EPCA. And then in December, y'all realized that you didn't want it to go to the legislature to have discussion, so you changed it up and brought in 10 votes so that it didn't have to go to the legislature to look at. So here we are now in December. It was supposed to go back to add some chart, and then this was included. So it was included in the December meeting. And then, but I don't remember any discussion on putting back electrical resistance in that meeting. So I think it got in there, but I don't remember any discussion on that at all, because I'm sure it would be quite bright in my mind that it would be. So here we are now going back to months and months of what we were discussing to get to number 5 here, to remove the internal electric resistance, because it is very substantive. And as was stated earlier, by putting back in electrical resistance, you are only allowing electric. The whole point behind EPCA is that you are limiting an energy source. You cannot do this unless it is done by Congress. Congress has to change it, that definition. So I think we all have to be mindful of what you're opening yourself up to here when you're putting in electric resistance again. You're going right back to April.
Thank you. I'm gonna call on Andrea first. She's had her hand up for some time.
Yeah, I was just going to say my recollection of that meeting was that I think council members asked about public comment, and then it was eventually arrived at the decision that they would not take public comment, which then of course gave the industry no chance to point out the very significant change that this would be. So just wanted to share my recollection of the meeting with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yeah, 2 things. One is that the November 28th meeting notes show that the adoption at that meeting included the strike-throughs that are in the final adopted version. So it was, while the code was adopted in December, the November 28th meeting included the strike-throughs you see in the adopted code right there. So please don't say that it was only in the December meeting that was brought up, because that's not true. The other thing regarding EPCA is that this is one path of the code. There is a fossil fuel path of the code that's also a valid code path. So that needs to be brought up. This is not the only path through the code. There are 4 paths through the code, and I'm happy to walk you through all 4 paths if you want, but this is just one path through the code.
Okay. Roger, go ahead.
Yeah, I have disagree with the several of the implications of both meetings. And I also wanted to point out, it has been presented in this conversation that we spent a whole bunch of time. It has been implied that the middle section that's on the screen was the end and final and total result, complete result of our attempt to de-risk according to EPCA. There were many things, a number of things, and I'd have to go back and identify them. There were many changes made to the between the April 22 and the November in order to de-risk. I do, in order to de-risk from EPCA. So I don't agree that the implication that what is on the screen was all of our work meant to de-risk. I agree with Chell that there are many options for fossil fuels. So I will leave it at that.
Okay. Are there any further comments? Andrea, go ahead.
Yeah, so it sounds like I'm hearing that there are various methods for compliance with each path. We are actually having a very hard time finding instructors to teach our code compliance classes. So I would invite Shell and the others that can help teach the industry how to comply with those paths to reach out to me so that we can get some training on the books, because people are really struggling right now. And yeah, it's very disappointing to hear people claim certain things when they're not actually the ones answering all the questions and trying to get people up to speed with how to comply to some of these really stringent regulations. So just going to leave it at that. Please reach out to me if you'd be willing to teach some classes. Thanks.
Thank you. I see Scott Peterson has his hand up. Go ahead and unmute, Scott.
There, sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Scott Peterson. I work with the Northwest Gas Association, the author of what you're considering, not personally, but I represent the organization. A couple items. The thought that there are 4 feasible, legitimate paths to compliance is a fiction, and I'll just leave it at that. Second, this is clearly an APA violation, and we'll litigate on that point, depending on what you guys do. And third, this is also an EPCA violation, and we will litigate. I won't speak for the board, but we will consider litigation if these 2 or 3 words are not changed. These are serious violations, and I'll leave it at that, just so you guys know what to expect.
Thank you. Jill?
Guess to respond directly to Andrea, the law requires that as the architect appointee, I hold a private sector job. And so I work quite a bit. I chase work, I do work. And this is training is not something I do as part of my job. I need to work for my firm and earn a living and do all that. So I don't have extra time to do energy code trainings, but I'm sorry you're not able to find people. And I guess I'm happy to talk about that with any of the trainers that you are finding or not finding. But I am not able within my work week to engage in code training.
Okay. Senator Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, I just want to make one more question here. In the process here of changing this language from one to what we're doing here or considering doing, it seems that because it is a substantive change, that we would need a comparative economic and energy analysis for the change, which is now the law. It is in the new bill that says you need to contract with an independent third-party entity to perform a comparative and economic and energy analysis of proposed Washington Energy Code amendments and prior versions of the Washington Energy Code, including the compliance with this RCWs. So if this is going to be changed, then there needs to be a long process with the economic analysis.
Thank you.
And I have to leave the meeting. I have another appointment, so I won't be on much longer. Thanks.
Thank you for your input. Scott, you still have your hand up?
No, sorry.
Tom.
Yeah, I just got a quick question for Senator Wilson. Do you mean if we take out the resistance, electric resistance words, we would need to do economic or otherwise?
No, if it's left in,
Okay, okay.
it would need another. Mhm.
The second part of my comment, is I think that it's pretty irresponsible for all of us on such a relatively easy thing to continue to subject ourselves to litigation on trying to do our jobs, I mean, that's starting to take up such a large portion of the time that we spend on these things. I'm just really kind of disappointed that we can't come to a conclusion that makes sense based on what we're charged to do. And part of that is EPCA compliance.
Thank you, Tom. Good comments. Shell?
I guess to your point, Tom, I don't know that we should cower before threats made to the council about lawsuits.
Angela?
I actually like what Senator Wilson said about the economic stuff, because this is a huge change in price for between having an option or being forced into electric. And I mean, that's part of what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be not keeping things affordable, but making sure that we're not pricing people out either based on our decisions. And I mean, our energy codes are already ahead of where they need to be to meet legislative goals. So, I mean, pushing through these little things do make a big difference for builders.
Thank you. Jay?
Two things. One is just the discussion on the economic impact involves changes from the currently adopted code. The currently adopted code is the third one here. So any analysis that we end up doing or determines requiring would be between that and anything we change to. So just wanted to clarify that. Secondly, what we're discussing today is what we put out for public comment. I'm hearing a lot of discussion of the merits of the policy itself, and that's we have great opportunity for future discussions in this as this goes forward. Thanks.
Thanks, Jay. Katie?
Yeah, I was actually gonna say that second part. It does feel like, given that we're already getting into the merits of both EPCA and adopted, moving forward with both options and hearing more public comment is along with meeting the requirements that we need to make for rulemaking would be the prudent way to go.
Okay. Who is the original maker of the motion? Is that you, Jay?
I am, yep.
Would you please restate the motion?
Yes, that we direct staff to prepare a CR 102 with both the petitioner's language and the originally adopted code.
Okay. I believe Representative Rammel seconded that motion.
Yep, I concur with that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Last bullet point in item number 8 is the AHRA testing standard for variable refrigerant flow heat pump systems. Krista?
Okay, this is an item that Ben brought up at the NVPE committee meeting. So I am actually going to I lost my I'll let him take it from here.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks,
ahead.
Krista. And yeah, I guess this, what you're looking at is a letter from Mitsubishi Train, is a manufacturer of equipment. So this testing standard covers VRF type heat pumps and air conditioning equipment. And basically there's been a change in the testing standard. So that has resulted in the test results for some equipment that had previously been aligned with meeting the typical ASHRAE 90.1 standards for efficiency would now report a lower efficiency based on the revised testing standards that they're required to meet. So for the 2024 code cycle, this will be resolved most likely as the model code will reference the updated ASHRAE standards. But for now, we're kind of in a situation where some of the reported efficiencies may appear lower. So it might introduce some issues for code compliance and require some additional clarification for jurisdictions to apply these standards. So I guess like after review, I didn't have a recommendation of the MVP committee meeting, but I guess my recommendation now would be to request that any jurisdictions that are having issues with showing compliance for projects for either 2018 or 2021 codes submit a question or request an interpretation from the Building Code Council. And I think that would be the most effective way of resolving this in the interim before the 2024 code cycle.
Who did the letter come from?
Mitsubishi Train. This is a standard letter that they have been circulating, as this is obviously a national issue that they have to deal with.
Gotcha. And I don't think there's any place in the residential energy code that addresses SEER or is this primarily applied to commercial?
Correct. So yeah, I think if you scroll down, it will show some of the testing values that they have. Next page. Yeah. So this is the ASHRAE 90.1 table that this pertains to.
Okay, so this is similar to the HSPF too.
Correct.
Okay, Craig.
Yeah, Ben, could you clarify for a layman like me, what does this mean that because something's been adjusted in the manufacturer, these VRF units will no longer meet code? What is the issue here? Just in one line, what are we talking about here?
So basically the manufacturers are now required to perform a different test based on the AHRI 1230/2021 version of the testing standard. Previously for the 2014 version of that, it was a different procedure, so the reported efficiencies would be different.
So you're suggesting we just work this through and bring it in with the 2024 code, but what happens with the 2021 code?
So yeah, so my suggestion would be that for jurisdictions that are facing issues where they're seeing projects that are saying their equipment is tested under this new standard and it was therefore not meeting the required efficiency ratings that are in the 2018 and 2021 codes, that they submit an interpretation request to the Building Code Council to request that they can reference the updated ASHRAE 90.1 table that you're seeing on the screen here, where it specifies two different efficiency ratings based on the testing standard that the equipment has been evaluated under.
So the anticipation is that the council will be inundated with requests for these changes as each municipality has to pose that question, or well, what's going to happen here?
I think similar to previous interpretations, it would be a single request from a single entity that would then be posted on the Building Code Council website.
Thank you.
If I could ask staff, is there any other vehicle that we can provide an interpretation other than a request from a building official?
have in the bylaws, but I don't see why we couldn't, issue an opinion, without the request.
Yeah, let's get this up on the website, as a, interpretation or a change. So that jurisdictions are aware, that way if anybody runs into it. Roger?
Given our last conversation, I don't know that the council wants to get into making interpretations and posting them as changes. Are we making it? Would we be threatened with a lawsuit if we decided to make a change?
Well, the answer to that these days, Roger, is certainly yes, always, it seems. And, obviously you need to do what you need to do. I mean, the council has, there's only to answer the question about issuing a formal opinion, that's established in statute. And in our regulations and bylaws regarding receiving requests from local officials regarding opinions. In the ordinary course of business, in my view, the council wouldn't be precluded from offering opinions regarding things, although of course there are legal questions regarding whether that could fit into the APA. Is it a change in policy? There's potentially some risk with that. We would want to talk about exactly what it means to issue an opinion.
Okay. I'm going to call on Lisa first. Lisa Rosenau, go ahead. Lisa, go ahead. You can unmute.
Sorry about that. So quick question about this. If we partnered with a jurisdiction to submit an official opinion inquiry about this and have it be simply to state that would the efficiency values, are the efficiency values within this ASHRAE table acceptable for the current code, then it would be an official inquiry opinion that is still advisory to the jurisdictions, but at least something would be published that the jurisdictions can look to if the question comes up within their jurisdiction for a permit submittal. Would that solve part of the problem, perhaps?
That seems to be the only vehicle at hand to do that at this point in time. I hope does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, because that's something that we could do. We could reach out to a jurisdiction and ask them if they would be willing to sponsor that inquiry or coordinate with one of these manufacturers. But a lot of the manufacturers, that's not something they commonly will do, to reach out to a jurisdiction to, ask for, support for an opinion like that. But that's something that we could do.
Okay, thank you. Jill?
Yeah, is what we're seeing, is this our code, or is this?
No, this is 90.1 2022.
Okay, and have we adopted this by reference or
No,
something?
so the current the 2021 Energy Code references 90.1 2019. So this is updated in the 2022 edition, which would be likely referenced by the 2024 model codes.
And just so I understand the problem of they're testing it, because the problem that they're testing it now, and so the label on the equipment says XYZ instead of something slightly different, or is it? Yeah, is that the problem? Is that the label used to say, 8 and now it says 7, and so it doesn't comply?
Correct.
Or is it something other than that? Okay,
No.
so is it similar to the HPSF versus HPSF2 issue?
Yes.
Similar to that. So with that, we have walk that some manufacturer put out, and then eventually AHRI put one out. Is there such a crosswalk? Or, I mean, I think the interpretations or the opinion is probably a decent option, but I wanted to ask, since this is similar to that issue, is there a crosswalk, or is it just such a different test procedure that it there could be no crosswalk.
I would have to look into it more, but based on 9.1 showing multiple values in here, I'm guessing they either HRA had something and then they incorporated it as well, or yeah, it's maybe they just did that without the HRI document to do that.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, I was wondering if is this something that has to do with equipment that's already installed or new equipment that's sitting on a shelf that may no longer be in compliance with its nameplate? And, or if we could look at a manufacturer's date or something like that, that would tell which test to make to verify the rating.
My understanding is that the manufacturer information would typically show the test procedure as well as the reference year for that on it, or that it's listed efficiency. So it should be fairly clear which category it would fall into. But I mean, obviously the test procedure has been out for a couple years, so there's likely equipment that's been installed or will be installed that is conforming to the newer test procedure.
So it would have to always conform to current law and not be grandfathered in as compliant when it was originally installed.
Right, and like as the table here is showing, it provides the required efficiencies based on the test procedure the equipment was evaluated under. So if it was evaluated under the older version, then it would have a different efficiency requirement than the newer version. Basically.
This is only when new equipment is installed. It doesn't apply to.
Right, no, yeah, exactly. Not for, it wouldn't be retroactive to items that have already been permitted and installed.
So then the real issue is equipment that might be sitting on the shelf that doesn't meet this standard that had been manufactured to be compliant, but is no longer right now. Is that, maybe I'm just missing the whole.
Yeah, no, it's really like new equipment that's being produced now is all going to be evaluated under the newer test procedure, which can produce equipment inefficiencies that are showing as being below the minimum requirements in the code.
Okay, Roger?
Is this, so the letter is from one manufacturer. Is this a problem across all? I mean, is it a problem with the table and a reference, or is it a problem with this particular manufacturer having a problem meeting the requirements?
It appears this is nationwide. This is a change in AHRI testing procedures, just as it was with the HSBF. So they're just providing documentation to show the difference.
And is this not covered? There is some language, and I'd have to figure out where it is, but no, never mind. There's some language in codes about well, never mind. I answered my own question.
Okay, it sounds like Lisa's going to reach out and see if she can get a jurisdiction to make a request that may solve the problem. But I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, Ben. Thank you.
No problem, and thank you, Lisa, for taking that on. And please let me know if I can be of any help.
Moving on to item 9 in the agenda, legislative task update.
Alrighty, let me update my screen share. All right, so the council has several legislative tasks that have accumulated over the 2023 cycle, the 2024 legislative cycle. I have the legislative bills that have passed here. I'm just gonna kind of go through them real quick, one by one. One thing that's still kind of hanging out there from previous meetings this year is we need to convene the legislative committee to prioritize how the council wants to address these tasks and summarize them for the council. But just as this particular agenda item just kind of arose as a housekeeping, making sure that we're not dropping any irons in the fire with Stoyan's departure. So this first one is from the 2023 session. It's Bill 1085, and it requires the State Building Code Council to adopt provisions for bottle filling stations. In 2023, staff put together a proposal to include in the 2024 adoption cycle for this, and it's ready to be submitted as a proposal on this one. So there's no real further action needed from the council at this time on this particular bill. But I would anticipate talking about it further within the legislative committee and giving a more in-depth summary of what this requires for council to digest there. The second bill we have is the substitute Senate Bill 5491. In this one, it requires the State Building Code Council to adopt rules for single exit standards, and also to convene a technical advisory group. At this time, we haven't talked about whether or not a special technical advisory group needs to be formed. I would propose that we use the IBC technical advisory group for this one. We did pull some preliminary proposal generation together, but we don't have a formal one finalized to include. There may be some other proposals coming in from other entities beyond SBCC staff to address the requirement of this legislative mandate. Moving on to Senate Bill 5553. This one requires the SBCC to adopt rules for temporary emergency shelters. One of the things that is an issue with this one is the effective date is July 1 of 2026. So several of these bills came out with effective dates that align with our old implementation date. And as we approach into the 2025 legislative cycle, we are entertaining, or it's on the table to potentially propose agency legislation to update these effective dates to align with our new implementation date. As far as this one, we don't have much work completed on a proposal for this one. And we just talked about breaking out some ad hoc groups as well. But we need to talk a little bit more about this one. And so this would be something wrapped into our 2024 code adoption cycle. That was presented as part of a scheduling information at a previous meeting in the year. And most of this is all going to coincide with the appropriate group codes that they would fall into. So this one, as I understand it, would fall into the IBC. And moving on to second substitute, House Bill 2071. This one's from 2024. This one requires the SBCC to make a recommendation for adopting multiplex housing standards into the IRC. I would see the IRC tag being the appropriate body to undertake this work. This one also requires us to convene a technical advisory group, but if we agree that we can use the IRC tag to do the work, there's no need to convene a special one there. The last one that we have here is the SBCC Bill 6291. I believe that as of today, we have changed our bylaws appropriately and covered everything in this bill that needed to be upgraded or updated into our bylaws. And there's a couple things pending on our online publication from our March council meeting that needs to be updated so that all of the requirements of this bill are updated into our bylaws. And then the last thing that I don't have prepared to show here is the budget proviso that requires us to do an embodied carbon study. We are working on that. I've got some communication going with the state of Oregon, and we've got our new staff, Josh, working on potentially seeking a contract to do the report for us. And at the moment, we're still preliminary working on that. And that's what we got going on with our legislative tasks. I need to get with the legislative committee and work a little bit more to develop a roadmap on how we're going to prioritize these tasks and get everything done.
Okay. There was a meeting on June 10th, the House Local Government Committee. And I understand a council member came and provided some testimony on the WUI code. Was this something that we ran through the legislative committee?
This was talked about at the legislative committee level, but as far as the updates provided to that work group, Todd Bayruther and I attended the meeting, and we really didn't update with any new information to them, just painted a picture of what the council's stance was on the WUI code. And they had asked for us to deliver back a statement on some proposed changes to the WUI code that align with what some of the concerns are. So the big concern being that the statute contains the code language, and they asked for us to deliver a statement of how we would like to see that information changed in the legislation, so to retain what they want us to adopt without necessarily directing us exactly what our code language should be within that statute. And other than that, we talked a little bit about some of the hurdles that were encountered as far as enforcement and concerns heard for the WUI code as a whole. And that's where we were on that one.
Okay. I would hope that, any things like that should definitely run through the legislative committee. And if nothing else, the legislative committee chair. That's kind of odd to have that off cycle, use the word again, committee hearing. So Jay, go ahead.
Thank you, Dustin, for the update on how we're responding to last session's direction from the legislature. One of the things we had talked about previously for the legislative committee was developing a agenda of things we'd like to see proactively. Is that something that will be part of the committee's work?
Yeah, so that's the primary goal of what we're doing, or what we would need to do. We need to call the legislative committee together. I've been in communication with Tom on that one to get the meeting called. And then we are looking to get that agenda developed and summarize all the legislative tasks at hand here.
Angela?
Did I hear you right in that staff is actually developing a proposal for the single exit?
We looked at language that is available out there. We don't have a proposal developed, but we have had some input on where the source language came from. There's been more work outside of staff happening that has just been constituent groups getting together and talking about it. So recently I had an inquiry from City of Seattle, SDCI, looking on some input on a proposal they plan to make for this particular item. And so there's work happening, but staff hasn't developed a proposal for this one. No.
Okay, I was just gonna say, yeah, there are groups working on it that have large stakeholders all taking part. So I was just curious how that was going. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all I have for a legislative task update. I look forward to bringing some more after we have the legislative committee meeting.
Great. Okay, is there any other business? Seeing none, back to you, Dustin, for a staff report.
I don't have a whole lot to update on that one. We are currently recruiting for code specialists. So if you guys know anybody who might fill that role effectively, send them our way. We are about a month down in the advertisement of that. We're getting the advertisement out to a couple other places that maybe haven't had the advertisement prior. And we're hoping to get a nice candidate in for that to alleviate some burden on the group as a whole. And that's all I really have for our staff report. We're still understaffed and working with a large load. So I would I'm just looking forward to getting some extra help here on that front.
Okay. With that, I would accept, oh, wait, I got a hand up, Roger.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I am on both the IBC and the ISC tag, deep in the details of going through the code, and I just wanted to commend the staff. They're working very, very hard to get through all of these. So they are understaffed, and I know that they are working very, very hard. So I just wanted to say thank you and recognize them for all their efforts.
Yes,
appreciate it. Thank
you. Thank you. Okay, with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn after a fantastic meeting.
There we go, on time and under budget.
Second.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Enjoy the weekend, and we will let you know when the special meeting's coming up in July.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.